And so I think we are on. I hope so. I'm just waiting to see. I've got the stream over here. I think we're in. Welcome, everyone. I cannot tell you how long it's taken me to get this worked out. I tried so many different streaming programs. It's been nuts because YouTube's changed their policies and everything else. Hi, everyone. I'm going to get your comments now in a second. So YouTube changed their policies with live streaming. Apparently, you need some external hosting platform to use. And I decided to use StreamYard in the end because it seems to work. And it should be a great evening. Hi, everyone. Let's just get to these comments. There's so many already. I've got a separate screen open, so I'll be able to read all the comments as they come through. Timothy Thomas, you mentioned the Tissot Explorer homage that I just saw. Well, I'd like to know what everyone else is wearing this evening. I'm wearing a stunning little piece called the Smith's Everest. I'm sure many of you have heard of it before. Smith's watches, if you don't know the history and the past, they had their heyday in the 50s when Hillary and his team went up Everest. And they basically made an homage to a 1016, 36 millimeters. It's a stunning little watch. So it'd be cool to hear what you guys are wearing tonight. This is probably one of my favorite homage watches I've ever owned. And it's such a cool little piece. Look at it. I threw it on a Jubilee and it's the most comfortable little watch around. It's too cool. Anyway, getting to all these comments. Geez, I got Cheat Town, Rob Smith, LLD. Hi, everyone. Carlos SS. Nice to see you. David Williams, Easy E, Heidi from Dallas. Great to have you all here. Thank you. 41 watching. 43 people watching already. This is unreal. So what we're going to do tonight, what I thought, this is a time for me to just sit down and relax, take my head out of the notepad and writing videos. And I decided to just do another stream like we had a while back. This is kind of like an audio feed, but this time we will have some visuals as well. I'll be running through another PDF from Watches of Knightsbridge, which should be cool. Just trying to work out this whole streaming service. StreamYard I've never used before, so I'm giving it a shot. I tried 3 separate streaming services, and this one seemed to work the best. I tried OBS and all these weird platforms, but if it wasn't audio, it was something else. Anyway, we'd like to know, just comment 1 if you can hear and see everything okay. I'd like to know that. And love your videos. Where are you from? Enzo, I'm from South Africa originally. And my accent is kind of a blend between more of an English and a South African accent. So it's kind of a combination of the two. It's not as hard as a typical South African accent. Okay, that's great. I'm seeing some 1s, so that means that you can hear and see everything. Okay, so what I can do, just page through this watch a little bit more. I just think it's so cool. I want to do a whole video on this piece because it's, there's a lot of controversy with homage watches. I began this channel with homage watches. That'll be a video topic in itself. But this little guy has got such a character. 36 mils. What I like about this compared to other brands is that this watch is still made and machined in Sheffield. And it uses a Miyota 9015. And I just think it's a gorgeous little watch. Has C3 Luminova, a domed sapphire crystal with an anti-reflective coating. I mean, who can get a 1016 nowadays? I'm living within my means, and I think this is just a great wearing experience. I love it. It's such a cool little piece. Checking out the other comments. 65 watching. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I think we'll have some fun. I'm just going to sit back. I hope you have something to drink. I'm going to sit back and just run through some vintage watches and reply to the chat. LLD, you definitely sound South African. Thank you. That's a compliment. This is awesome. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to try my best to keep my attention on the comments while running through this. And please, if as I'm going through these different watches, please comment references that you'd like me to look up, all of that. And Caliber 3135, I saw you said hi to me. Being South African, I hope you like rugby. I'm a big rugby fan. I just finished watching Paul Thorpe's first live stream. I'm sure some of you were on there and had a look. And he was talking about how he loves motorbikes and how he loves football. What else was it? Those two things. I am the complete antithesis. I'm a car guy and I'm a rugby guy. So it's pretty funny. And while he likes watch dealing and the market, I like the design, and it's fantastic. We like complete polar opposites. I think it's great. So yeah, I've been enjoying the World Cup. It's been a lot of fun. What color is my Beetle? Cheetown, California. I have a 1968, and it is a baby blue. I actually found it in the desert. Traveled a couple of hours outside of where I stayed in Cape Town on a bus, and basically picked it up and drove it home. And it still has all of its original German manufacturer components to it. It's superb. And Easy E, Aussie Rules. I haven't actually dedicated time to watching Aussie Rules. I'm still getting into American football, which I also enjoy. I love the strategy and the thinking behind it. Yeah, so I'm just going to get through some of these comments, and then we'll jump to Watches of Knightsbridge and just scroll through. Looking at where do you draw a line between homage and ripple? It's a very fine line. I like when a brand is able to take a concept, like, I don't know, the Jeannot, for example. I think Jeannot is great because it has the 5-digit case, which is no longer made anymore, as we know, but then incorporates a mil sub layout to it. So we have the vintage loom, we have the sword hands. This example, I think, it's a superb example of homage because it has 1016 feel throughout, but the case and everything is different. I mean, you look at the build of the case compared to your standard watch. I don't think I have any side profiles of it. But compared to the standard Explorer case, this has a few little minor tweaks. And that's just so cool. The nice thing is the machining, all of the manufacturing is done in Sheffield, in the UK. Of course, they use a 9015 movement, but that's a gorgeous little watch. I think it's so cool. And I mean, the loom and everything, I mean, the numerals, you can find such cool watches on the market that fit your needs. And I think this is so nice and understated to wear on a daily basis. Yeah, and Paul's video mentioning boxing. Yeah, I'm not a boxing fan, actually. It's interesting how we have our different tastes, and it's awesome. Eric Bell, I hope Etzebeth doesn't get sent home. I don't think he will. Apparently the allegations about his remarks were made before he left for the World Cup. Anyway, so what I'm going to do this evening, like we did the last time, I'm going to top 83, prefer real vintage Smiths. There's some amazing examples of real pieces out now as well. You can find them all over eBay. Just check out Smiths on eBay. You can probably find, I think there's still a few examples that are still around that Hillary wore, that build. They're still around nowadays. Just see, can't hear it. I wonder, for homage watches, what story is in the copyrights? I can, it's very difficult because in the manufacturing industry, it's very vague. A lot of the times there can be so many replications of things that go unnoticed. Excuse me, that go unnoticed. When I think about just the manufacturing and design industry, a lot of things go unnoticed. Anyway, so I'm going to jump onto. I'm going to leave this. So this is the watch I'm wearing tonight. It'll be cool to hear what you guys are wearing. But I'm going to jump over to Watches of Knightsbridge, and we can have a look at just this stunning PDF of stuff. And the reason why I love looking at this page, these catalogs are available online. Go on to watchesofknightsbridge.com or co.uk, and you can download these brochures, these catalogs. This one is from March, so it's not new by any means. But it's just, this is so cool. Larry, what was his name? One of the followers on the page and on the community post mentioned that they're going to be doing an auction in November. So I'll be sure to cover that with their catalog. Fully free catalogs to download as PDFs. And what I love is that they have everything from Adlango and Zona all the way through Smiths. They have Vertex, old military pieces. And it's just so cool. From a design background, we get to just sit back and look through all of these. And I thought it would make a nice background to talk over while I read through the comments. So I hope you can indulge me. Dangerous being a watch guy in South Africa. I never was a watch guy in South Africa. I'll be honest with you. The reason why I got into watches when I came here was I started earning money, which was cool. But it was also because being in that part of the world, I never needed to know what time it was. You could kind of tell the time by the sun, right? Coming here to the UK, you have overcast days. You can't, and during winter time, you don't know. It could be midnight, it could be 2 in the afternoon, and you can't tell because it's just pitch dark outside. So one real vintage watch to start a collection. The one watch that's really caught my attention is the new Seamaster. No, the new Seamaster, sorry. The 2254 that I did a video on. They are so affordable. If I just pull up an eBay page, maybe we'll be able to do this. Let's see if I can quickly pull up an eBay page and look at just the prices of 2254 Seamasters. It'll blow your mind. Let's see. You know, they're sitting in the realms of about £1,000, £2,000. And I think for a sports watch that can be usable and wearable on a daily basis, this thing is just too cool. And speaking of this watch, the video that's coming out next week is going to be all about mil-spec pieces. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really had a lot of fun making it. Let's pull up this guy, for example. I mean, it's all down to personal preference. Oops. I'm trying to work out this magic mouse. It might be a bit of an issue tonight. Let's see. Full screen. Come on. Will it let me go full screen? Probably not. They're not the cheapest watches in the world, but some are. You can get some for really good bargains. And I think if it was me and I had the money to spare for one of these, I'd be jumping on one of these. Really. Just the layout, the simplicity, the design of the watch is gorgeous. I would swap out the bezel for a Planet Ocean bezel. Let's see. Actually, if I just pull up 2254 and you type in Planet Ocean, I love Google. I tell you, it's an amazing place. And we might be able to find one that has a Planet Ocean insert. There's an example. Very pixelated. Come on, let's get some more. Here we go. I mean, oh, geez, of course it has to be pixelated. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting warmed up this evening. Here's one. Nice and pixelated, but you get the idea. You put a Planet Ocean insert inside it, and I think it looks so retro modern. And it's an awesome, just the video that I did, being a mil-sub homage. I don't think anything has come close since, which is cool. Getting back, Tudor sub Snowflake, top 83. I completely agree. The Tudor sub Snowflake, it's a watch in this catalog that we'll be looking at. 7016. I've spoken about it a few times before. But actually, there's a range. There's many other variants too. But 7016 is the one I normally just jump to. It is such a cool looking piece. It really is such a nice looking watch. I love the angularity behind all the indices and the hands, and it's too cool. Anyway, so I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Right-click, show full image. I'm guessing we talking on eBay, or are we talking via Google? Yeah, I'm very slow at this stuff. Me and technology, being a designer, industrial designer, I should know how to use these things. I mean, I make 3D models and stuff, so I should know this, but geez, today I spent all morning just trying to work out how to get the stream going because of YouTube's new policies. Anyway, do you ever feel danger wearing Parnas homages? I love Parnas watches. Some are better than others, and the ones that I've really gravitated towards are the Chronographs. They use a Seiko mechanical quartz movement. It's got a ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal, very comfortable, easy to wear. I just wear them for the enjoyment. I think watches should be about enjoyment. And what I've tried to do with this page is take myself out of the equation as much as possible, because what I own shouldn't be anything that influences you guys. I think it's just nice to share perspectives. And I love doing this, writing about different watches, because it's a nice avenue to just be creative and look at things in a different way. I don't want my choices to influence yours by any means. I like what I like. You can like what you like. And I get a lot of flack for it, of course. I mean, I've had lots of comments. It's the reason why I removed a lot of the earlier videos I did on this page, because it kind of rubs people the wrong way. that I own homage watches for the most part. I mean, geez, this little Smith's Everest that I'm wearing just does the trick for me. Let's see. Riverside, California, USA. That is so cool. Pelagos left-hand drive. Nice looking watch. Have you designed a watch before, Andreas? You know, the joke is, I like to call myself pretty good with a pen. I've designed all sorts of ridiculous things in the past. But the one thing I cannot draw, I can draw cars, I can draw products ranging from like glue guns throughout, but I cannot draw a watch. I mean, when it comes to designing a watch, I think this whole platform has influenced my stigma, because there's so many different watches out there. It's very hard to like hone in on what makes a quote unquote perfect watch. So yeah, let's see. Chip Wong, hi guys, super chat. Yeah, you guys can really do what you like. Once again, if you'd like me to look at some references, please tell me and I will pull them up as we go through. I'm just going to be paging through this. There's about 200 pages of this. At the end, we get to the really cool pieces. Let's have a look. Moby Life. I'm a student and want a banger. Either an Explorer 1 36 or an Oyster Perpetual 36. Oyster Perpetual 36 Explorer 1. You know, if it was me, I would be going for the Explorer 1. I just think it has that little extra touch to it. And let me just pull up Safari again, if I can. Come on, work with me. Computers, I'll tell you what. I think the Explorer 36 is a killer looking watch. I think the proportions are great. I much prefer them. There's Adrian's video. It's fantastic. He appeared up in the search. I think Explorer 36 has the proportions. And what confuses me is that it's not like over 50 years that our wrists have doubled in size. And 36 millimeters is still such a great contemporary size. And by the looks of things, I think people are being drawn back into the smaller sizes. There's talk about watches going down in sizes again, and I'm all for it. I mean, I have a near to 7-inch wrist on a good day, if I go to the gym and everything else, if it's a hot day. But if it was me, Andreas, who was the one in comment? Sorry, I missed your comment. Everything's scrolling down. Who was it who commented here? Moby Life. If it was me, I'd be going for a 36 Explorer. The Oyster Perpetual is nice, but I think, you know, dependent on the color, it can be a bit of a problem. Let's just have a look at some examples here. So nice being able to just pull up watches to look at. The modern pieces, one Oyster Perpetual that I would absolutely go for is the 34 Olive. Oh, this thing is gorgeous. I mean, I know there are many Hulk Submariner wearing fans on the page, but for me, I think this little guy is such a character. It's such a nice color, such a easygoing. I mean, it's like wearing any kind of olive drab clothing, an olive jacket, olive pants. It just works in any situation. And I think it is one of those that just, it sings. So if I was going for an Oyster Perpetual, I would probably gravitate towards one of these. I think 34 is still an excellent wearing size for wrists like ours. I mean, 2 millimeters, let's be real. And what works so well is that the bezel is domed. So it kind of brings the proportions down and it makes it nice and neat. So between this and the Explorer 36, I don't know, it's difficult. It's really difficult to come up with a proper conclusion. I'd recommend trying them both on, really. Getting back to the comments quick. There's so much going on here. Sorry, guys. I'm missing out a lot of these comments. Let me scroll back up. 1016 is a bit expensive. Yeah, 1016 is I would not, it's what they're like 15 grand or something, 12 grand for one of them nowadays. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm missing your comments. Let me try and get back to preview just so we can look at something cool. Cartier's is a nice little 50 Fathoms. This is an homage, once again, a tribute to the 50 Fathoms that was released, one of the originals. And I love the layout of this watch. Let's try and get it so that it fills the screen and doesn't take up too much space. So you can look at that while I'm chatting. Damn it, I'm missing all of these comments. I'm so sorry. Got myself a Jumbo Smith's Everest 36. Great size. Freddie Turner, I really love it. I don't know if you saw the beginning. I'll just make this smaller. This is becoming quite a clutter on here. But I'm wearing a 36mm on a Jubilee. It's an absolutely fantastic watch. I got it secondhand, and it's probably one of the best purchases I've made because it's just such an easy wearing piece. Has all the modern parts and components, wearable, beautiful luminova. Oh, I just love it. I can't get enough of wearing this watch on a daily basis. Okay, back here, full screen. Right. Rich Buddy, nice to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Andreas, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm missing all of these comments. What do I think of the Black Bay 58? I think it's superb because, once again, it's got that smaller size. I am not someone who likes bigger size watches. And generally, if I'm not mistaken, Tudor Black Bays tend to be in the 42mm size range. But the Black Bay 58 is one of those modern pieces. There's nothing wrong with this watch. Get one of these and enjoy it. I mean, if you want this to be a first watch, it's an awesome watch. But again, you want something simple for an everyday wearer. I think you don't want anything too flamboyant. You want something that suits your general wearing, your general attire more. I mean, you're not wearing a white shirt every day. Sometimes you're wearing something more colorful. So I think for a beginner's watch, I think this is cool. I mean, damn, I would be keen on one of these. I really like the Pepsi. The latest Pepsi GMT that they brought out looks stunning. The size is not, I'm not really a fan of the size. I think 42mm, again, it's down to dial architecture. It's down to that excess space. Here's an example. Please be high res. Great. It's just the space between the indices and just that open space, that cavity of space on the dial that bugs me. It's just unnecessary, you know? Getting to comments again. Thought on the Cartier American. I'm going to be getting to that question now. Okay, Black Bay, we finished that question. Think of the 34 OP in white. Yes, I think it's cool, Adam. But at the same time, I think it has those double batons, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not so much of a fan of that. Let's see if I can pull it up quick. I'm going to be a bit slow with these comments, but I want to try and be methodical. If I'm wrong, is this the one you're talking about, the 34 with the Explorer dial? I think it looks quite nice. And I like the idea that the dial actually has the Rolex coronet at the 12. It's much more vintage, you know, it has that vintage feel to it. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks great. And then some of these, here's another example. I think a white dial watch is stunning, especially if it's a bit more scaled down, fitting the wrist. It makes an excellent wearing piece on a daily basis. Okay, going through. Tank American, Gilbert. I'm going to say Gilbert. I really like the Tank American because it is just so. It has that different draw to it than a standard tank. Tanks are cool. I really think they're nice watches, and it feels like they're making a comeback thanks to the likes of Theo and Harris and channels promoting them. They are stunning dress watches, and the American with that extra elongated stretch around the wrist gives it a different charm altogether. It's completely unique. And if you have a moment now, open up a new tab and look up Revolution Watch Tank Cintre. It's C-I-N-T-R-E-E. Wei Ko does an excellent chat with John Goldberger all about them. And I don't know, this style, I really like it. Very deco, very old-fashioned, but at the same time, it has that pull that makes it a very unique tank in the family. Thoughts on the 5530 and current market prices? Model Earth. Very good question. You know, I don't actually track prices. I wish I was someone who was. I wish I was someone who was drawn to reading prices and everything else. I think Paul Thorpe and Archie Luxury, Clive Watch Wrangler, those guys, Adrian, Bark and Jack are better resources for that because they spend more time looking around at prices. I mean, Adrian just bought a 14060, and I'm sure he would have better insight on the market. But I think it's crazy, actually. I think it's crazy that the 5513 has gone so high. I mean, they're in the 15s and the 20s, and I'll just pull up an eBay page for it now while we're at it. I kind of enjoy looking at watches on eBay over, actually no, Chrono 24. Let's do it. Let's do it. Sorry if I will be getting to your questions. I'm going to try and pull this back up, but these are just great, great questions that I'm getting to, and I'm enjoying it. I will be getting to all of these. Let's just look at the pricings. We have, what, 32,000, 8,000. It's all to do with, no, I don't need pop-ups, thanks. It's all to do with servicing, with papers, with what the condition's in. That is a killer. I think I looked at this a while back. How cool is that? I mean, that is just stealth wealth right there. Price on request, I wouldn't want to know how much that cost. But it is unreal. I mean, 31,000. I'm guessing this one has, this is probably late 60s. Doesn't look like it has a rivet bracelet. This one, I mean, I would be going for one with a rivet bracelet if it was me, but I just think the prices are ridiculous. Personally, I think you're much better off finding a 90s Submariner, just a 14060, because you can wear the thing. The latest, the last editions of the 5513s were great because they had sapphire crystals and upgraded movements. But as they are, the older they get, it's just nuts, the prices. And it's all to do with demand, once again. So let's just pull up a really good picture, and I'll jump back to the comments to have a look at what else is going on. Chrono 24 is the boss. I mean, you just get such nice pictures to look at. Let's see. 2 millimeter difference between being able to wear 36 and Rich Buddy. Well, I can understand it is down to wrist size, and it's always down to preference. So absolutely. And the bracelet that I got for the Smith's Everest, I got from eBay. You just have to keep your eyes open, and you can find just generic unbranded bracelets. W10 Smith's Military. Freddie Turner, I'm doing a video all about Smiths and a whole series of mil-spec watches. It's going to be so cool. Look forward to that. That's going to be next week. JLC, there was a mention about a JLC Moon, ultra thin, I think it was. I'll be getting to that now. Vintage 34. Yeah, talking about sizes. Dress watches. It's just, I'm going to try and manually flick through these images while I look through, just to give some vibrancy. Check out the Zinn EZM13. It's left-hand drive, excellent design. I will be doing that now. Let's have a look. I must say, I've been neglecting German watches. Let's just type in the reference, EZM13. Oh, is this the watch that Tim Mosso wears? This is from the police, the law enforcement. I really like this. I love these. I really have a passion for watches that have been supplied to police forces and to militaries because they've got so much purpose to them. This is stunning. Thank you for the comment. This was Aldebert Tomala. Sorry, probably butchered your name. Stunning looking watch. I wear my watches on my right wrist. So I don't know. So I enjoy not having crowns going into my hand, but it's an awesome watch. Again, I'll emphasize, I love watches that are made with the purpose behind them. Excellent example. And I'm trying to remember the reference that Tim Mosso wears, but it's one of these. It's very similar. And these are very pricey, if I'm not mistaken. They've got a lot of mechanics behind them. Anyway, I need to get back to these other comments. I wish I could bookmark comments because I'm having to scroll up and look. Let's see. Dress watch 36 to 38, sports watch 38 to 42. Yeah, very good, Andreas. I think that's a good point as well. GMT is too big for me. It was 39. We're talking about Tudor. Yeah, the Tudor GMT, no problem. I just looked at the Sin. Longer Saxonia Thin 37 as a one watch opposed to Steel Sport. It's all down to personal preference. I've really been trying to put my mind into it and what I would have. What I love so much about what I'm doing, which is just writing about all sorts of unreal watches on a daily basis, is that I get a much clearer idea about what I like, what I'd want to own one day. And for me, a dress watch, I don't think would cut it as much as a sports watch. If it was me going for a dress watch, I would get something like a chronograph. If I'm dreaming here, a 5170 Patek would be the one for me. 5196 is cool. Longer, in the longer field, I think 1815. It's a killer looking watch. And let me just pull it up here. We're going to try and jump between chrono and let's see, 1850 longer chronograph. Give it to me. This is a gorgeous watch. Of course, it's not going to give me the answer. Come on. if it was me wanting a dress watch as a one and only watch, I think something like a chronograph with a little bit of technicality behind it would be killer. And I think the 1815 is one of those pieces that just does it. I think the Saxonia thin you might get bored of, but I mean, it's all down to the person. I'm much more of a guy who likes something with a bit of sport to it. And simplicity is great. I mean, I'm a designer. I should be someone who loves Bauhaus and the simplistic nature of watches. But I think there's just so much more on offer out there. Like, for example, I mean, if we're just going nuts, 5196P, which I really like. I mean, I'm not like we're talking about pricing here, but I really like the idea. Where's a nice image? I love the Breguet numerals. I think it's got such a clean aesthetic. Of course, it's in platinum, and who can afford a platinum watch? 32,800 for this piece, as it is right now. But I think that aesthetic is so nice, and just to add a little bit more complexity to the watch, makes a difference. Date window bugs me. Yeah, date windows also bug me. But geez, I hate when I scroll, it drops down, so I miss it. Let's see. Called on Haynes. Wow, we've got super chats coming. Geez, thank you. Okay, gonna get back to. I wish I could just lock the comments, but I can't. Let's see. Seiko 6105. Are we talking? Is that the Willard? If I remember right, I'll get to that. Goldberger's hoarding Cartier tungsten trays. Absolutely, it's insane. He has museum quality watches, and it's just nuts. The design of the IWC Mark, is that a 14? I am useless with Roman numerals. Let's see, Mark V. Let's see, XV. I should know this, right? So this is very much, it's obviously an evolution of the IWC Mark 11. Stunning watch. Again, next week I'm going to be I'm bringing out a video all about military-inspired watches. I'm going through 100 years of history. It's a huge write-up. I think it's going to be really fun. It goes through everything from the First World War all the way until modern day. So what's great about this piece is just the layout. It has that Mark 11 styling. Date window, I'm not so much of a fan. I think the nice thing is that the color is there. It's not in the way. I'm just not someone who enjoys date windows on watches. If I can avoid it, I would. But I love it. The Mark 11 as the cornerstone watch has been such an influence to field watches in general. And in this video coming out next week, I cover it in full detail. I actually got an email asking me to do a video, and I replied back saying, "You're in for a treat. It's coming out next week." Anyway, thoughts on the Tag Heuer having to recall Otavia because of bad news? That was interesting. I saw that today. I think Scottish Watches, Instagram is a great place. Scottish Watches mentioned it. Let's see if there's any kind of headline. Maybe there is. But I've noticed that was a big, and it was these pieces, if I'm not mistaken, these blue pieces. Be interested in knowing more details about why they were called back. I think it's a great looking watch. I really like it. Once again, it's down to the date window placement being at the 6. Nice and clean. We've got beautiful numerals throughout. It's too cool. Okay, going through. I think it's okay, just answering a question, M Technic. I think it's a great thing that they can actually have the cojones to say, okay, we've made a mistake, there's something wrong, send them back. As opposed to just sitting with something and saying, well, we're just not going to make a difference. It's a little bit more, it's better when it's aimed to a customer that they are in fact going to be fixing these pieces, but it's a pity. It's kind of like when the GMT Pepsi was released from Tudor, and they had problems with the date complications, if I remember right. Okay, what's everyone drinking tonight, by the way? I've got whiskey, wine, and no, sorry, I got whiskey, water, and coffee all at once. I think it's a nice combo. Okay, another super chat. Thank you so much, Aspas Proton. What's a better first watch, Seiko SKX 007 or Mondane 42mm? Different styles, but I'm torn between the two. They are completely different watches. Very, very hard to hone in on what you like. I mean, it's apples and oranges, very much so. You've got a dive watch and you've got something that's more of a contemporary. dress watch. What I do like about the piece, honestly, speaking from the heart, it's not a watch I would own because I'm just not into the simplistic nature of these pieces. But what it has is, let's get a good picture. Come on, work with us here. Nice high-res picture somewhere. No, this is what I love. When it comes to sourcing images, sometimes it can be such a pain in the neck. Why don't I just pull up a stock to go, because that's pretty much the one we all enjoy. Let's see. So what I love is just the simplicity of the watch, the layout, nice and clean. I love the highlights, but for me, I would take a dive watch over a dress watch. Just for the practicality aspect, being able to take it in the water, being able to use it on a daily basis. I think it's important. So really, if it was me, I would take the SKX. But within that price range, there are other pieces to look at too. So really hone in. I think the problem with the SKX is that it's become, let me just pull up a picture of it. I'll leave Chrono 24 for the fancy high-end pieces, I think. And let's just pull up SKX 007. I love the fact that we're jumping between all these watches. It's so much fun. I really enjoy this. This could be the stream, just looking at these pieces. The problem with the SKX, I think I've mentioned before in a past, I think it was in a stream I did actually. It's become so mainstream that there's a lot of complacency behind the build of the watch. And because of that, they're lacking in so many areas, like the movements, for example. Build quality can be a problem. Bezels don't line up so much. And for the price you're paying for them, you expect everything to be just a little better. Of course, they're great watches, but it's difficult to justify when there are other movements and other watches out there that can be offered for the same price. But if it was me, I'd take a dive watch or a sports watch over a dress watch. It's difficult, very difficult question to answer. The American starts at $5,000. This vintage Blanc Pantalon, yeah, Rich Buddy. I'm sorry, everyone, that I'm missing your comments. I'm going to get through them. I've basically locked it, and I'm going to be scrolling down throughout, so we'll get there eventually. Rich Buddy, talking about the 50 Fathoms, the original pieces, I think they are such stunning watches, especially the vintage pieces. And what I love, I did a video months and months ago about it. These watches are being used by militaries while other pieces were just window dressing. And that is something to admire. You can say what you like about them. You can hate them as much as you want, but these pieces were very important. And so were Zodiac pieces, actually. I have a write-up in the midst about Zodiac and their dive watches back in the day. And they have such a cool history. Both of these watches, these and Zodiac divers, were some of the pioneers. And can't ever take that away from them. The modern reissues of these pieces are just as cool. 40 millimeters. I mean, it's just, there's an example. It's too cool. I love them. I mean, if you want to kill a dive watch, just a watch that you can walk into a room and show off very stealthily, I think this one does it, But the bathyscaphe, oh, I've got to make a video about that watch. It's, yeah. Anyway, if you really want to laugh, look at the Comex pieces. Yeah, geez, we're talking about the prices of houses. It's unbelievable, Eric. Also picked up a Air King in black, engine turn bezel for $2,000. I think it's underrated as a vintage option. Air Kings are stunning pieces. You're right. Compared to Oyster Perpetuals, I think Air Kings are one of those pieces that kind of they've lost their charm. I made a video about that a while ago. You can probably find it somewhere. I think I called it an unsung hero. And I go through the history of the Air King. It was a watch designed for the RAF. And it's got an awesome history to it, but the problem is it just lost its traction. And I think it's partly due to Rolex, because they just didn't want to perpetuate the name, which is sad. These watches, I'm not much of a fan of this. But just the standard, the vintage pieces, just that is an awesome looking watch, great for everyday wear. You can really wear and enjoy them, Anyway, geez, there's so many comments. So, yeah, I'm going to get there, promise. DK, what are your thoughts on the new Yacht-Master 42? I don't enjoy any Rolex watches in 42 mils. Sorry to disappoint everyone, but I just don't think it's necessary. There's something about 40 millimeter Rolex sports pieces that has allowed them to sit in a almost golden ratio. And this is just for the sake of presence, really. This size increase, it's for bigger wrists, of course. And I would understand for people who have bigger wrists, it's great. I like the idea that it's in white gold. It's nice and subtle. The bezel's cool, but it can be quite strange in lights. You can't exactly use it in some lights because it disappears. Example A, Exhibit A. I like the Oyster Flex. I like the integration. That's nice. But, I mean, geez. You look at the size of it on some wrists and it's laughable. Same as the 43 millimeter deep sea sea dweller. I'm probably one of the few, I shouldn't say deep sea, I'm one of the few who don't really appreciate it because of the size. What I do like is the fact that they have scaled up the indices to fit the watch. I think that's very important. So it's nice that they addressed that, but it wouldn't be a watch I'd go for. I'd much rather stick to 40 mils if it was me. Price for Rolex, you enter new overseas price. Yeah, exactly, Andreas. Overseas, Vacheron overseas are some of the most underrated watches around, especially the chronograph. If, oh, geez, let's just pull it up. Overseas chronograph. No. It's pretty cool doing this. You have so much more variety to the discussion. This is an absolute beaut of a watch, I think. And I did a full video on the overseas. It's so cool. The fact that they supply you with leather straps and everything else, it's really underrated. And I guarantee you, this is not insider information, but just looking at the trend at the moment, these watches are going to be as in demand as Royal Oaks and Nautiluses very soon, because they're the one watch that you can actually gravitate towards and pick up at the moment. So very cool. Let's see. Military watches would be a great genre of watches to collect. Rich Buddy, absolutely. There's some of the best watches that anyone can, I think it has that tie, that draw that's very different to other pieces because they've had such a life behind them, you know? They've been worn, they've been used, they've seen so much that we haven't seen. They can tell the best stories. And I mean, some are stunning. Here we go. Here's an original Smiths that you were talking about, the W10. Look at that. Very interesting story about Smiths. They have one hell of a history. I can't wait to go into it. When I talk about this little 1016 homage, I will be bringing in Smiths history and running through all of them and saying, and basically explaining how they've developed over the years and where they've gone. Let's see. Photos of my Freddie, please. And everyone else, if you'd like to get a hold of me, my address is enquire.idguy. It should be in the about section of my channel. If you'd like to email me about anything, I've done a few consultations and they've been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I love the interaction. Could the Lange Saxonia Thin be the one watch worn every day? Oh, geez, please don't tell me it's jumped up. Hold on. I really hope I haven't jumped up on this. There's a question here by Amarula. I think I just answered your question. It might have been someone else, but I addressed that. It's talking about the one watch, 37 mil. It's very difficult to justify. It depends on your lifestyle and what you wear on a daily basis. I need to catch up with these comments. Moby Life, I want to do this regularly. If I can, if this works out well, absolutely. I would love to carry on doing this. I've missed so many comments. I think. Let's have a look. Crappy Luxury's on. Hi, Crappy. Nice to see you. Welcome. Let's see. Second gen. Talking about the second gen, talking about the overseas in general, I would like to chat about a watch that, geez, I don't even know what they call it now. What is this watch called? This new Chopard that was released. Geez, let's see if I can pull it up. This thing, Alpine. Okay, so I learned a little bit more about it. I was quite critical about it at first, but I've learned something about the watch since then. Apparently, it's a watch that pays. There we go. There's an example. It's basically an homage to one of the original sports pieces that they brought out many years ago. This should be a lot of fun to run through. Okay, I just want to finish getting through these comments. The overseas is 42. Yeah, BS. We'll get to that now. We were talking about sizes in a second. Let's see. What seems the most YouTube? Oh, geez. YouTube enthusiasts have dainty sized wrists, complain about a lot. Why is it that it seems the most YouTube enthusiasts with dainty size wrists complain about it? Yeah, Gilbert, it is down to, I think my wrist size does play a part in it, because I can't really enjoy them when I wear them. It's a problem. But I also think there's a lot more to add to a watch when its proportions are brought down, just for the sake of dial and space usage. I think that's something to factor in. It's not so much about the wearing experience. It's just about the complete package that I think can be lost if dial space is added for just the sake of presence, you know. Hello, appreciate Buddha. Crappy luxury, rich buddy. The G10 is awesome. Jumping through here. Lots of comments here. Really enjoying the stream. Thank you, 73 Math. What do I think of the Zodiac Super Seawolf? Cheetown, I have a write-up that I'm still going through at the moment, but I plan on covering that in detail. I think Zodiac needs a full history covered. They have an amazing past through the 50s and all the way through. So I will be discussing that and the watch. I like the fact that they've emphasized the colors and made it interesting. Anyway, I'm just getting through this so we can jump to these Chopard pieces. I saw Thomas Burnett. Is he on? Thomas Burnett is the OG. He is the guy of all these pages. Such a gent. We've been chatting a lot on email, and he's such an awesome guy. Enzo, date windows. Yeah, I struggle with date windows. There are some very good examples, though, and yeah, we'll get down here. Let's see. What is my current collection and my favorite from it? Moby Life, I have a very poor collection. Most of them are homage watches, and I've sold off many of my pieces. The one that I'm wearing now, this little Smith's Everest that I'm wearing, is probably my favorite watch that I own at the moment. I'm afraid to say life is getting in the way of a lot of things, and I haven't been able to afford anything above and beyond this at the moment. I'm just enjoying what I have, but I would love to one day just premiere an awesome watch that I pick up as my first luxury, really cool watch. I'm still debating the thought process on what I would like, but anyway, running through. Since I know that you're a fan of the Explorer, could you please check out Tissot Explorer homage? There was a mention in the very beginning about it. Tissot watches, I'm not a fan of, actually, because the proportions... oh, the latest one. There was a new one that came out, right? I think. And it was a 39 mil that they brought out. They basically... I like the idea that they've kept the size and the scale right. Here's an example. But I've mentioned this before. This is what is a serious deal breaker for me. There's a Smith's piece. No. This is the deal breaker for me. Here's the example that you just mentioned. Look at those lugs and those end links. That is so poor. As a manufacturing process, when it comes to creating lug ends, you want to make sure that they actually taper down. And this center link, the fact that it overhangs like this so much, it puts me off the watch completely. I'd be putting an aftermarket strap on it straight afterwards. I haven't seen this watch in the flesh, haven't looked at it. What I'm wearing right now, what I'm enjoying the hell out of, and what all of you should be looking at, is the Smith's Everest. It is, I personally think, much better value for money. It's made in Sheffield. The parts are manufactured in the UK. Uses a Miyota 9015, the same, I'm pretty sure the same movement in the Tissot pieces, but the scale's there. It's got all the parts that you'd want. C3 Luminova, sapphire crystal, excellent everyday wearer. Anyway, I want to get to these Chopard pieces. Let's just run through here. Thomas Burnett, good to see you here, brother. Thank you for joining. Smith's Everest is such a cool piece. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's such a fun watch to wear. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I haven't stopped wearing it for the past 2 months. Okay, jumping to the Chopard piece. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments about this. It seems like the trend is to just royal oak or nautilize. I'm calling it a new word, nautilize sports watches to get the mass appeal. And this one to me really doesn't do it to me at all. This is the vintage piece. This was the piece that they're trying to homage. And if I just pull up a Gen 1 Vacheron overseas, I find this quite alarming, actually. We're talking about liberties and everything else. This watch is the OG, basically. I think a fellow Wrangler. Gentify, that's a good line, Cheetown, thank you. this watch has, it's very charming. I think it's got a nice aesthetic to it, nice angles. The show, this is the draw though. The center links on this piece relative to the show part, it's like, it's a near direct line. It's very difficult. You know, all these watches were made during the same kind of time. But yeah, this new piece, what I do appreciate is I like the idea that this watch has Roman numerals incorporated into a sports watch. I think that's very cool. And I'm trying to remember the Nautilus. What model was it? Let's see if I can remember the name. I'll just type in Roman numerals and we should get the watch. I can't remember the reference off the top of my head. But this piece, I think, is just one of those watches that's so cool because it really kind of questions the status quo. It came out in the 90s, if I remember right. 3780, I think that's it. Yes, 38. Oh God, there's so many references. I'm not a Patek Philippe savant by any means. I love the fact that it has numerals. I don't like the fact that it has a date complication, but the whole idea of questioning the status quo of what divides a sports watch and a dress watch, I think is very charming. So on that point, I just lost the watch, didn't I? Where's the show part? Let's pull it back again. So on that point, I like the idea that this watch has numerals to it, but then again, it just doesn't have a draw to me at all. And if we had to refer to the Bell & Ross B05, whatever, same thing. It's strange how these brands are all producing the same thing, trying to capitalize off that market. I don't know what they're trying to do, actually. I would imagine that a corporation would want to try and capitalize off a watch like this just because the buzz is the same for all these pieces, but I don't know, you're going about it the wrong way. But again, I said in the beginning, of all things that I design, I can't design a watch to save my life. So what can I say about it, really, you know? The Bell & Ross is Nautilus. Yeah, Thomas Winnett, that's it. Let's see. I've got to jump back. So I have the first generation, Freddie Turner. It's a very cool looking watch. VC Overseas, the most underappreciated height. It is. It really is. And again, I'll emphasize, I really think that these pieces, especially the latest, I really dig these GMTs, these two time zone watches. There's a really cool one. I don't know if many of you know Corey Richards, but he's a photographer for National Geographic. I followed him a long time ago, and saw that they made a custom GMT. Oh, look at that thing. Custom GMT, one of one. This is a prototype jewel time that he wore up Everest this year. And what's not to like about that? Too cool. And it's got scratches and everything. I think it's got a titanium case, if I'm not mistaken. It looks so killer. I love the orange accents, and it very much plays to the watch in the most appreciated Rolex that I like is the 1655. But that is a stunning looking piece. I think it's so cool. Vacheron Overseas, you heard it here first. I really believe it's going to be a watch that's going to draw a lot of attention. So let's see. No balance, data, let's see, smells like cotton here. You could slap any brand on that show part, Tissot Longe. Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel as well. Since you mentioned you like military police timepieces, your thoughts on the current marathon timepieces, like Hamilton's? Yeah, you know, there's one Hamilton that I've really been eyeing actually. Let's have a look at just marathon watches in general. I really hope they don't give me running. Okay, good. Oh, that's cool. I like that approach. Very interesting. They've got a nice aesthetic to them, different to conventional pieces, which is nice. It's nice to have a brand that offers something a little bit different. It has a very Zen-like feel to them, though. And some, I mean, I would venture to guess that the IWC, again, the Mark 11, was the watch that really inspired these minute track highlights, which this watch adopts. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at marathon, but I will do in the future. I think it's a watch that deserves a discussion. I like to study up more about them before giving you my opinion on the piece. And Hamilton, one little field watch that I really like. Let's see. I was looking at it the other day, actually. Let's see. It's called it's the khaki, Hamilton khaki, but it's got like a olive drab to it. I don't know what they call it. Just the standard field watch with the olive drab, I think, is a really killer watch. There's something about olive drab that just pulls me in all the time. Has such a nice aesthetic. I'm sure there's a model. Here's the model that I like. The fact that it doesn't have any dates on it, it's clean, it's simple. I mean, that's a field watch right there. I love the patina. I'm one of the people who like faux patina, just because the color's there. It's got a nice little bit of contrast. So that's an example of a watch that I would really recommend. They offer great value for money, Hamilton watches. So just scrolling through. You aren't going to dismiss Cheeton. I'm not going to dismiss the overseas as toxic sludge. No, absolutely not. It is a beautifully designed watch. What I emphasized in the video that I did about Vacheron, I think I named it, here's why you should appreciate the Vacheron overseas. It's very difficult to be original with watches in general. Very difficult. Originality is so hard to come by. We've seen so many repetitions. And when a watch is able to come out of the gates and actually contest directly against with the likes, it contests with these two names. It actually falls in the same kind of playing field. That is serious props. You have to really think, wow. I mean, these other two pieces have been around for what? Since the 70s. This generation, I think it's the third or the fourth generation of the overseas now, these latest pieces, they offer something so different. And the fact that they've been designed in such a way, I mean, look at that. Talk about a sports dress combination. I think it looks fantastic as an everyday wearer. I'm even a fan of the date complication on this watch because it has a window around it. It looks more integrated to the piece. Stunning looking piece. And it's nice and thin, beautiful movements. I mean, we know Vacheron movements are just top of the line. Awesome watch. Breguet Marine 5517. Okay, I'm missing out a few here. Blue Shirt Buddha, love the Hamilton. Yeah, I think it's great. Let's see. Hans, thank you. Video on the Santos. It was a lot of fun to bring together. The Breguet Marine 5517. I know of Breguet Marines, but I don't know if this is a modern or vintage piece you're talking about. Is it a dress watch? Okay. I have some reservations about this. There's some things that I like. And again, this returns back to, I have seen this a few times before. What I like about Breguet watches in general is that they like to stick to their roots very much. You can feel that there is this Breguet classique styling to it. And it's down to the lug integration, the fact that everything's angular and straight. One thing I love about Breguet is this coin edging they give to their cases. I think that is such a charming character. And one other thing, the final thing that I really enjoy is the history behind Breguet. The fact that they, engineered the Breguet hands. They engineered the Breguet numerals. But this layout of Roman numerals with a luminova inside, it's a bit obstructive, I think. It would be awesome in the dark, but I think it might be a bit obstructive as a general watch. But what I do like is the fact that they've kind of blended the idea of modern, what would you say, nouveau retro into their build. Very much classically inspired pieces that have some kind of modern flair. But there are some things about them that just doesn't grab me as much, Let's see, what else? Oh, geez, I've just dropped. I love it. When I grab the chat with the mouse, it pulls away and I lose a whole load of comments. VC's a beaut. Let's see, overseas. What's my favorite blue dial watch? Blue Shirt Buddha. Jeez, there's so many of them. There are so many on offer nowadays. I can't think of one really good one. That's a good question. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind and work through it as we run through this. I can't actually hone in on one that I really, really like off the top of my head, at least. But maybe we'll be able to pull something up later. I mean, geez, Vacheron's a good contender. But I think actually there is one watch. It's a little bit near and dear to my heart because I was born around the time it was released, and it is the Professional, Seamaster Professional. I think if you want a watch that has a blue face, the Seamaster Professional it's just made for that color. It has that language that's always been that color. And the newest watches, I think, are superb. I'm going to be doing a video addressing the Seamaster versus Rolex Submariner compilation, because there's a difference between the two watches. Absolutely, they're completely different pieces, but they offer two different sides of the spectrum, and I think you should look at them differently. You shouldn't look at them the same at all. Anyway, we're running through classic looks on the VC. Sorry, I'm missing a lot of these chats. Let's have a look. Okay, I think I've caught up. Zeeblue Milgas, that's one hell of a watch. One of the main men, Thomas Burnett, has a Zeeblue Milgas, and it is just stunning. So that is a good example. Very vibrant. Just off the top of my head, I'm not thinking too far into this, but for me, I think when I think of blue on a watch, I think Seamaster Professional. Anyway, and Tudor Sub, yeah, 7016 Snowflake, another example, awesome on a blue dial. Thoughts on the gel Seamaster Professor? No, James, very good question. The Master Compressor, I think they need to come back, personally. They have such a character to them. And the chronograph, the watch that really appealed to me, I'm sure a lot of people, it'll turn up people's noses, but I really like the Memovox version of this watch. Don't know why. Has this appeal, a strange looking watch, but it has that, what I like is the fact that it has that dress sports element to it. You know, you can wear this on a daily basis, but also use it in the ocean, no problem. Getting to the chronograph, I think it's quite a monster of a piece, if I remember right. Yo, that is a monster. I think it's a little bit overdone, personally. I think it's a little bit excessive. As another option, I would probably go for the more vintage revival versions of these JLCs. I'm trying to rack my head for the name. Let's just see. I'm just following the chat here as we carry on. Have you seen the Vietnamese genuine leather crocodile alabaster? No, I haven't. VAM, I haven't checked those out. Blue Dial Yacht-Master 40 is also great. Yeah, that's another good example. Seamaster 225, yeah, that's it. I'm trying to keep up with these chats now. Let's see. Cartier Privé collection was ahead of its time. I will have a look at that. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Rohan. It's great. Nice being able to, this is me taking a break over the weekend. I would be spending my time writing the next article to come up, and this is a nice stoppage for me, being able to sit back and just enjoy this. Let's see. Polaris GLC is great. It's very understated watch. I dig it too. What is the piece that I'm trying to look for? It's the it's not a master compressor chronograph. Maybe it is. It's a master chronograph, but it's vintage. Here we go. This piece, deep sea chronograph. How can you not like that piece? Really? I mean, can you dig down and say that you hate that watch? That looks amazing. But I don't think, this isn't the diving version. They have a diver's chronograph, if I remember right. I don't know. But I just love the colors. This piece, I think this is the one. This is the deep sea. What's it called? Deep sea chronograph. And I think it changes between red and white, telling you that you need to wind it at a certain time. I can't remember when the chronograph is actually working. That's it. It goes half red and then full red, depending on whether the chronograph's being used or if it's stopped. I mean, it's so cool. Again, I love faux patina. I might be one of a few people who enjoy faux patina on watches. Hans, yes, reverso vid on the Santos. Yeah, like the Santos. That video I actually had thought of doing next week in tandem with this mil-spec video that I plan on bringing out. The mil-spec video is going to be huge. That's all I'm saying. It covers so many watches. It took me about 3 days to write, so pretty awesome. Bud the Stud, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. JLC could be on any's list. Yeah, Rich Buddy. I think JLC, it's one of those, just in general, such great watches for the value. I think Omega and JLC are two watches that are overlooked. And for obvious reasons, I mean, investment prices and retail and all that stuff. Let's just look at some reversos just for fun while we're at this. I think reversos have such an interesting charm to them. Hell, this is a good example for a blue dial watch, I think. Blue Shirt Buddha. Here's another example that I really adore. And I like the reversos that have the batons instead of the numerals. I don't know why, but the numerals just don't grab me as much, even though these are the more classic pieces. Stunning. It's, you know, real character behind it in the past. Let's see. Burgundy dial. Craft and Tailored. Cam from Craft and Tailored. Guys, please, what you're doing right now, all 99 of you, or 98 of you watching right now, open a new tab, go onto YouTube, type in Craft and Tailored in the search bar, and follow them, because they have such killer videos. Really insightful, different. I really enjoy it. I stumbled across them when I was taking a week off last week, and really such great stuff. And I was going to ask, please do a video on the 1655 Explorer 2. It's my dream vintage Rolex. You guys have to cover it. Anyway, just jumping up back here. Let's see what else is going on. Master Ultra Thin Moon Phase. I'm going to cover that watch now, actually. But first, let's just stick to the reverso since we're on it. Damn it, I love reversos. And this piece especially, I think with the blue, the heat blue batons, that's an awesome picture. I love good photography, like really clean and simple photography to use. I think, what does this have? Duo face. This might be for a minute repeater. No, it's not. It's not for a minute repeater. Awesome looking pieces. And really the one that speaks to me the most is the original tribute, the 1933 tribute, I think it's called. 1931, tribute to 31. What I love about this watch, depending, you know, there are different variants. There's some with syringe hands, which is quite nice. Comes on a calfskin strap. Here's the burgundy that was mentioned in the comments. I'm going to get to that now. I think there's so much you can do with this watch when it comes to pairing it with different straps. You can really go to town and have fun with this watch as an everyday wearing piece. It's too cool. Anyway, we've got a question about Sin 103. I do need to cover Zin in general because they have lots of pieces out there. And the Omega generally is overlooked. JLC, I think what's interesting is that JLC is very much a watch person's watch. It's so unknown by the community, by just the general public. But anyone who sees another person wearing a reverso, you can say, yeah, this guy's a watch guy, by all means. And the burgundy, here's Tim holding one. Oh, it's too cool. Such a character. I think they're really classy. I love batons on JLCs. Love the size as well, the thickness. It's too cool. Let's see. Look up the burgundy dial. You have just done that, Hans. Caliber 3135. Certain foul mouth Australian will be going live. Yeah, I don't want to encroach on his time, but depending on how this goes, you guys can come and go if you like. I'm just enjoying this. I just like the interaction for a change. It's a nice change of pace. Jimmy agreed. Craft and Tailored is awesome. I literally, it's very seldom that I sit down and watch all videos on a watch channel, but I quite literally ranked, you know, went through every single one. And I think they've got about 12 or 15. All of them are insightful. All of them are different. We've got, you know, Vintage Newmans. I mean, I might as well pull up their page now, shouldn't I? I think I should, just for all of you guys out there. Craft and Tailored. I would love to come and visit you guys. Geez, I really misspelled that badly. You have a YouTube page. Let me just pull it up for everyone to see. That's nice to know. My video has been featured on. So just to show you guys who haven't seen, I made a video recommending them. Yesterday's video about a 73 double red Sea Dweller. Such a beautiful, clean watch. Beautiful Paul Newman. The clarity and the cleanliness. I've never seen such a clean 6538 Big Crown Submariner. Do yourselves a favor right now and check them out, because I've had such a blast looking at their stuff. And Cam is an excellent host running the show. I enjoy it so much. I really want to see a video on the 1655 and go in depth, please. It'll be so cool. Let's see. What are my thoughts on the Breitling Norton edition? Let's pull that up. I have no idea. I'm very bad with Breitling, actually. It's a brand that I haven't followed attentively. It's actually unreal how many watches there are out there. Oh, Norton motorbikes. Okay, got it. So this is just a nice partnership that they did. hell, it's a cool looking watch. You know, it gives me that vibe of a 40s, 50s and 40s inspired piece. Don't know so much about the hollowed out numerals, but it's a nice collaboration. Norton Motorbikes. Again, I'm a car guy. I'm not a motorbike guy, but I do like, and I really enjoy. I think these little placards that they put on the sides of cases, very cool. That brings to mind the new James Bond Seamaster that's just come out. We'll have a look at that just now. Let's see. I don't want to drag this on for too long. Oh, geez, my mouse is acting up on me. Sorry, guys. I don't want to drag these videos out too long because I know everyone has a time and a place to be. Let's see. What are your thoughts on my latest Grail wish list? The Bulgari Octo Finissimo Chrono version. Gilbert, I made a video all about the Octo Finissimo that I kind of wrecked. I wasn't very nice to the watch, and it's nothing, you know, it's nothing against the watch. It's Bulgari. I don't know how best to call it. Bulgari, going with the flow. The nice thing about the watch is that it's unique. The movement is a marvel. I mean, without question. But, oh geez, come on, mouse, work with me. It's a bit conflicting. It's a bit confusing. If I had to look at this and compare it against one watch that I really like, Panda Chronograph. You know, if I had a choice between the two, this beaut would be the one on my wish list because it just has a different draw to, you know, it's difficult. Again, different strokes for different folks always. Where's a nice picture to look at? Here, come on. Give me I love working with Google sometimes. Come on, give me a nice high res. That'll do. The thing with the Bulgari is that it's a very unique watch in a way. The proportions are strange, very strangely sized. But again, it is your preference. The fact that it's titanium and it's brushed, I love the finishing on the watch. The finishing, the sandblast finish on it just looks great. And what it does is it lessens its flashy nature. You know, it's a lot more toned down. It looks kind of like a military focused piece. But the pull to me, I just think the edges and the angles and all of the details, it's a little bit too excessive for my taste. Where I think with the Royal Oak Panda is it's not a standard Royal Oak with blue dial and everything else. It has the draw of it being a chronograph, excellent everyday wearing complication, excellent everyday wearing watch. I think this has just a better, you know, presence. I don't know. If it was me, I'd be going for one of these pieces, but it is all down to personal preference. If you love the thing, it's up to you. When I did the video on the Bulgari, I was given a lot of flack, and rightly so. I mean, it is all down to preference at the end of the day. Yeah, Andreas, I'm just jumping back to see if I can keep up crazy thin movement. Absolutely, Carlton Taylor. I'm coming back up to see. Please consider viewing the Mont Blanc Star Legacy line. Mont Blanc does need to be covered, absolutely. And pair it with their pens, you know, have some kind of clash between the different pens they have. The Groenfeld, there's so many, there are so many names. Haute Horology, let's see. Gerard Perregaux, Laureato, opinion. Gerard Perregaux, another brand that I haven't been focusing on because it's another thing that's important is that when you have a small channel, you have to, I'm just trying to get the reference number. Let's see. Loreto, what is the number? 8010. Hell, this is a vintage piece. Very interesting. So it came out during the same time as the Vacheron 222. I mean, that looks very much like the 222. It's the Vacheron, you know, the pre-overseas piece. Awesome looking watch. I love the 12 at the top. Again, not a fan of the date, but I love the sword style hands. Nice looking piece. Gerard Perregaux is another brand I have to cover in the future, so it will be on my list. But again, the thing is, because these watches are so, you know, unique, it's very difficult to get the content out for a large audience. What I'd love is for every video of mine to get, 10,000 views, just for the sake of being able to push the momentum of other watches, so I could bring out these bizarre and crazy pieces. But the reality is the attention is towards Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe. So that's where you kind of have to keep your focus for the moment. Yeah, Hans, you make your own money, up to you how you spend it. Exactly. It's all down to personal preference. Very important. Thanks, IDGuy. Pleasure. Thank you for joining, Aldebert. Better Bulgari than Burgundy. Let's not start the Bogan discussion again. That was so funny that night. Geez, there's so many questions here. I'm going to drop down. Longines Big Eye column wheel from Gilbert. Good question. I think it has a lot of pull. And this is a modern revival. Longines makes some awesome modern pieces. I mean, they have an amazing past, but of course the brand has gone through ebbs and flows. But they're modern pieces. Some are really something to look at. Here is an example of a watch that has such an interesting layout. Over here we have our standard running seconds. Over here we have our hours, and here we have our minutes. And I love the difference between the dials. It's unique. You have a much bigger scale for the minutes, which is practical, good for function, good to read, easy to see. Love the numerals. Crazy looking watch. Time and Tide. Yeah, this is an awesome picture. Look at that. Stunning looking watch. Really is. Longines needs more coverage, and I promise to do a video on that too. There's so many watches to cover in the future. Let's see. Thomas Burnett, thank you for the super chat, man. You are such a gent. Thomas Burnett and I, we chat a lot on email, and he's got an amazing connection. We're going to run through one of these days soon, I hope. GLC Polaris Rolex Explorer 39. The Polaris date and the Explorer. Sorry, I'm trying to read through the comments and keep it in. Let's see. JLC, Polaris date, or Rolex Explorer 39mm. I think for wearability, just everyday wearability, I would probably say the Explorer is a better call. It's difficult. It is, once again, down to preference. The watch's size and scale and everything else. I haven't covered the Polaris at all. The vintage Polaris has a nice draw to it because it has that style, but I would opt for an Explorer 39 if it was me personally. But the blue dial is really something. It's got a nice character to it. But again, as an everyday wearing watch, could you see yourself wearing this? If you're wearing a red shirt, for example, it's a little bit bright. Nice color though. I love the glacier effect behind it. Let's see. It looks like an Omega Dynamic Chrono. Yeah, sorry, I'm catching up with all the past comments. Let's see. The JLC Compressor series is a stunning watch. And Hans, I don't know where your last question was. Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the chat as we're going through, and we've arrived here. Search IDGuy Phil Smith. I really enjoy Parnas watches. I enjoy them for the sake of the fact that I get to wear I've been able to try on a Panda Daytona. Long time ago in the Harrods boutique, before the Rolex sports pieces were in such ridiculous demand. And of course now they're virtually unobtainable for people like me. I enjoy, and I've actually directed a few people to have a look at Parnas Chronograph, Parnas Daytona. A lot of people have bought the watch, tried it on, just to decide whether or not they're interested in the Panda Daytona. And I think wearing watches is all about experience. I mean, for those of you who are new, again, this is what I'm wearing tonight. Smith's Everest 36mm. Of course, some of you will say it's a blatant ripoff of a Rolex Explorer 1016. I'm not someone in the marketplace to be able to afford a 1016 Explorer, but this is a superb little everyday wearing watch, and let's just enjoy it. It's all down to, again, it's down to micro brands having the flexibility, the transparency with where they create their things. And I've said a few times already, this little Smith's Everest is still made in Sheffield, and uses a Miyota movement, but the case is manufactured. They even supply the technical drawings behind the watch online for you to find, and that transparency makes a difference overall. Okay, we see Clive Watch Wrangler's on. Good evening, sir. Nice to have you here. Show the Groenfeld, that is Haute Horology. Can you mention? Sorry, can you remind me on the Groenfeld watch again what reference it is? And just as Clive has arrived on the page, I want to look at the Longines signal call. Is it the Longines signal call? He has one of these pieces, and next week I'm going to be bringing out a video all about vintage military pieces over the last 100 years. And this is probably one of the cool. It's a Zenith signal call. That's it. It's such an amazing history, the whole application of vintage, of just military watches in general, and how they've changed. It's amazing. Even back then, I'll give you a bit of a teaser. I talk about these, quote unquote trench watches. Even back then, they had an understanding that legibility was number one. You find that all of these pieces had Dauphine hands and a huge dial, very legible numerals, easy to read. It's so awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so fam, talking about Parnas Daytona, it's the one I've sold and broken up all the other watches that I've had. The Parnas Daytona, I think, is such a cool piece because I'll just pull a picture up if I can find one. Let's see. I love it for the fact that it has. It's not. It looks like it has the drawer that looks like a standard Panda Daytona, but at the same time, if you look at where the subdials are placed, the fact that the subdials are more akin to a Zenith Daytona, everything's symmetrical. It uses a Seiko mechanical quartz movement for, what is it, about $80, 90, 100 pounds roundabout. It's, ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal, fantastic watch. I enjoy wearing the hell out of it. And, I've recommended it to a few people who have actually asked me. And there's one of the videos. I made a few videos about it in the past. Anyway, let's have a look at these other comments. Wait, is that Patek Calatrava Pilot vintage? Oh no, it's a Zenith. Forgot the Patek copy Zenith. Yeah, Zenith has quite a history. I really hope to cover them in more detail in the future. I love that El Primero video I did the other day. Alpha New, yeah, exactly. Alpha Paul Newman has a column wheel Seagull chronograph. For $100, you're getting a column wheel chronograph, and it's another one of those watches I slap on a khaki NATO or Zulu strap, wear it around. You get the wearing experience of a $100,000 watch, very much like Gevril. I mean, geez, you look at everyone. What I find hilarious is that people rip on these homage watches, but I mean, Gevril created an almost near direct replica of Paul Newman pieces, and these are going for stupid prices now. They're going for the price of Rolex pieces. So you have to ask yourself, where do you really draw the line? So again, Alpha Chronographs, similar kind of layout. These are cool looking watches though. I mean, yeah, long story about those pieces. Anyway, let's see. Ryan H, you can make your big luxury purchase business expense YouTube. I wonder which watch will give enough views to pay for itself. Good question. You kind of you pull the views in by saying, I've just bought a new Rolex, that'll do the view count well. I really don't know. I'm so on the fence. I had a lot of money saved up, and then a bit of a family crisis happened, and I lost a lot of it, which is a pity. But, I'm still kind of lusting for just a simple 1993 no date sub as a first luxury watch, something cool. But if it was me and I was going to be buying one vintage watch for the rest of my life and I had all the money in the world, no joke, I'd be getting a 1655. I think it's such an obscure watch. We can chat about this a little bit more because I just can't. I think I've written so many write-ups about this piece. It doesn't look like a Rolex. That's a huge plus. You can wear it in public. Most people will think it's a Seiko, and that's fantastic. I love that idea. At the same time, it has a day-night complication, 24-hour time. quirky, cool. I even like the date complication. I think it all plays together. And when it comes to pairing watches with bracelets, this watch deserves an oyster bracelet. I think it works so well together. Whereas a standard, if I pull up a 1016 Explorer, for example, let's find it here. 1016 Explorers are very plain and basic watches, right? So you have to ask yourself, would it look better or worse on a Jubilee? And that's kind of where I say, if it has a simple face, opt for a Jubilee bracelet, which is why I love this combo. It adds that little bit of complexity to the piece. And if you want something, if you have something that's complicated, like a complicated dial, give it a simple bracelet. That's a nice little moral to live by. And in the same vein, if we're just going to pull up another watch, I think the Daytona in its configuration, especially these new ceramic pieces, I think they work excellently on oyster bracelets because they have such a complicated dial layout, you know? Such a cool selection of watches. But if it was me, I think this little guy just takes the cake. Awesome little piece to wear. So we have a couple of comments. Geez, I'm missing out on so many comments. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Zenith, yeah, it was a great video. Thank you, 73 MAF MAF. I have to agree. Let's see. I'm trying to stick with a big. I just missed it. Dave, I have to agree with another reviewer who has been comparing the SMP with the sub. One thing he said is that there is no comparison between sub and the unobserved. Yeah, exactly. I don't know who the other reviewer was, but you really need to look at them in two different ways because they are completely different watches. And I want to actually put them against each other, look at their designs, and focus in on the pieces because they have their own attributes, their own traits. Anyway. I picked up a Givril for a flight. Of course, Clive has a Givril. Forgot about that. And you got it for a steal, like your 321, your bloody 321 Omega. That's the best story. Casio Oak meme. Yeah, exactly. Mark P is in the house. Nice to see you. The Groenfeld Remontoir. Let's have a look. Groenenfeld. I'm probably butchering the names. I'm sorry. I'm only human. Remontoir. Let's see. Now you see, if I had to make a video on this watch, it would probably get maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 views or so, because it's just so obscure. But what does it say? 8 seconds Remontoir. I don't even know what a Remontoir caliber is about. That's very poor of me. Holy moly! Look at that movement. That is something else. I tell you, the watches out there, I did a write-up on FB Journe a long time ago, but I'm still preparing it. I don't feel like it'll get that much attention. It's difficult. It's very difficult to judge what video will get attention and what won't. Just in retrospect to how many hours go into making these write-ups, you want it to pay off in a way. Does the Daytona, watch aficionado, does the Daytona have too much text on the dial at one location? Oh, geez. Okay, I'm going to go through this again because it's a very good question. Okay, I'm going to pull up this piece, and I'm going to pull up a 150. What's it? 152. What's the reference? 16520 Zenith. Okay. This is a comparison that I like to always bring together with these pieces. Big question about these Zenith pieces, and I think if you have one, it's a watch well worth holding on to. Because it has the Zenith movement. It's one of the last watches with the Zenith movement. Has a great value potential one day. What I love so much about these pieces is the symmetry. Look at how these subdials are arranged on the dial. Everything's centered. Another great thing is the numerals. The numeral layout, it's nice, not the numerals, the text. Nice and light, very plain. It is pretty cluttered. I'll admit it is quite overdone. You don't need Cosmograph there. Your watch never went to space. Take that off the dial. But now we look at the modern variant. Watch the subdial placement. Just keep your eye on those centers. Here we go. You notice what's happened when they introduced the new caliber. This is how you can easily tell the new caliber difference, is that these subdials have been pushed up and it's offset. And again, they've darkened up the text. And if you just look at it from a distance, look at it on someone's wrist, you see that offset of how the subdials work. It's quite for someone who's pedantic about date complications and things like me, that kind of gets on my nerves a bit, because I don't think it was necessary. I also think the definition's a little bit too heavy on this watch, the subdial definition, where this just looks so much cleaner. But again, it's a little bit harder to read. So it really is up to you, I mean, when it comes to that. But talking about the text, I think it is quite cluttered. It's not necessary to have things like Cosmograph. You know, they could really cut it back to 3 lines and end it there, you know. Let's carry on. You didn't like it, so it's on the consignment. I think you're talking about the Gevril. I'm trying to remember. There's nothing wrong with obscure. That's why I like the 1530. Those are your rare birds, right? I'm trying to remember, Clive. So Brian Govwork wore the Paul Newman Gevril. Yeah, I mean, really, drawing the line between homage and everything, it's very difficult to do. It's hard to like give it a solid definition. I like the fact when a watch can bring out something that's a little bit different. In the case of this little Everest, you can't buy a modern movement 1016 nowadays. And I like the idea that this watch has all the modern components, a dome, sapphire crystal, all of that. So when they have modern attributes that make them wearable watches, I think, and of course, when they deviate a little bit from the formula, it's cool. Let's see. Do you think ceramic Daytona has become a fashion watch? Cheetown, California? No, I don't. You know, if I had the opportunity of getting one of these, I totally would, just for the sake of it being an everyday wearer. I have quite a fair skin, quite a pale skin, and the size and proportions of the watch fit me perfectly. I had the opportunity, like I said, I took my cousin into Harrods once. He was visiting me, and took him into Harrods, and we were lucky enough to be taken into the back. It was a quiet day. It was probably like a Tuesday, and it was a few years ago, before this hype and this craze of restricting happened. Got to try on all sorts of pieces, including this. I think the Daytona had just been premiered at that time, if I remember right, because it was a while ago. But this size just fits me perfectly, and hell, I would take this any day. It's such a nice piece as an everyday wearer. And again, emphasize, I don't think it's a fashion piece. Carry on down here. Secondary spring unit for winding. Remontoir, 2 wind. Okay, thank you, Andreas. Thank you for that. I need to cover more Haute Horology stuff. It'll happen. One of these days, we will have videos dedicated all the way to Jean and the rest, you know, running through it. Let's see. Rolaids. Truth feels guilty. Just get an El Primero. Hell, the El Primero is another one of those watches that it's so underrated, really. When you talk about the history, what I love so much about it, and why I would Watchfinder did a video about them. What I find so attractive to them is that it's an enthusiast watch in many ways. You see someone wearing one of these and you go, you know watches, don't you? And one of the watches that originally drew me in to wristwatches, the Submariner was one of them, but another one that really pulled me was the Jack Hoyer. What was it, the 60th or the 80th? Yeah, I think it was the 80th birthday edition. This watch really spoke to me some reason. I love the red, the highlight. I don't know why, but this watch just had an appeal to me many years ago. And I think it's cool. It's all down to personal preference again. I love the accents. I think that's what drew me to it back in the day. Anyway, I can see there's all sorts of stuff going on here. Instead of Cyclops, you should make a whole crystal magnified with bad eye. Yeah, why not? I mean, what's wrong with that? I love the idea that the Panerai brought out a killer-looking magnifier that's underneath the glass. I think that's too cool. Let's see. And G, do collection reviews. I've discovered watches are too big here. I'm going to get down to these. What other half the women in Essex are wearing Daytonas? I have my doubts about that line. Let's see. Generally, watches are too big. Talking about Surfside gives a comment about his watches being too big. I think you should try and just think about the proportions, the space on the dial. What I love so much about these pieces, this is 42, but the allocation of space is just superb. Rightly so, there was a comment on the El Primero video that I brought out earlier this week, a couple of days ago, this date window was moved here because there was space allowance. Normally the date windows at the 4 and 5. Having it in the center, it's so nice and clean. It's, yeah, awesome watches. Love them. And gee, do collection reviews. I've been asked by a few people to do collection reviews. A couple of people have emailed me, and there's some amazing collections. But at the same time, I also want to try and hone in on this channel being a place where I write articles about bizarre watches, and I hope to continue doing that, as well as throw in collection reviews, maybe in an audio format in the future. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Gilbert Rio. Thoughts on timepieces that have caught my eye recently. Chuvaro Sobre. Wow. Okay. Getting some Spanish here. I've got to try and get this in. I need to learn Spanish. It's one of the languages. Chevro. Let's see. Why? Sobrinks. Never heard of these pieces before. Wow. That is stunning. I love this Corne de Vache. Jeez Louise. That is unbelievable. Look at that, guys. How is that? This is what I love. I love the little bit of information that I don't know coming up. I really like these Corne de Vache style lugs that these pieces have. Stunning. Very, very cool. I mean, these movements. This is high horology. Once again, these movements. Whenever you see plates like these inside movements, you know you're dealing with something that is a cut above the standard generic. These are just insane. Gorgeous looking watches. Very interesting. I love the fact that they're bringing back these, you know, retro 20s, 30s styled lug ends. I mean, that's crazy. Looks bizarre, right? Crazy looking piece. I'd love to go into this in more detail, but I'm sure that would get maybe 50 people watching because it's just so bizarre, you know, and strange. Alfa Romeo is like an old Ferrari. You buy the engine and they're throwing the body for free. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, just going through, trying to keep up with these comments going on. Grand Seiko is another brand that's underrated. Let's have a look. The homage design of the Gianfranco Loreto. Didn't I cover that earlier? Let's see. GP, all these names. It's amazing how, well, here we go. We covered the vintage piece earlier. It's crazy how these brands are all going in such a similar direction. Gentrifying, nautilising, whatever you want to call it. There's all kinds of, you know, names you give it. I don't know. It's very hard to wrap my head around it. There's so many pieces. I mean, there's what, 9, 10 different pieces that all have that same styling. I'm getting tired of it, you know, getting really tired of these pieces, actually. It's quite exhausting covering these watches because they're all just the same. They have the same kind of aesthetics. You know, you want a Royal Oak, get the Royal Oak because it's the watch that started the trend. I have a love-hate relationship with the watch. Absolutely have a love-hate relationship with it because on one day I really like it. Other days I find it absurd. These Girard-Perregaux, what's with the octagonal bezel? It's just, once again, you know, they've taken all the same aesthetics. The bracelet design doesn't look like it's been very well integrated. It looks very basic, very simple. Yeah, so it's difficult. Anyway, just scrolling through the rest of these comments. Let's see. Oh, those horned lugs. Okay, I have to just catch up with the bottom of these comments. Horned lugs for sure, Clive. Those are stunning looking watches. I've just gone past them. We were supposed to be covering vintage watches, but I'm going to have to change the title of this series. Anyway, let's see. I was watching talking about Tin Mosso. Look up weird vintage watch, Britex Deluxe, if you fancy watch lugs. And Fauzi, Tanku, he's a really nice guy. He's just joined us. Thank you for joining us. So what am I look up? The Britex Deluxe for crazy lugs. Okay. Britix Deluxe. This should be funny. Yeah, these lugs are absolutely crazy. I think I have seen it. Oh, geez, very good pictures. I mean, that's just when you go a little bit above and beyond what you should be doing, right? It's just nuts. Yeah, that's just uncalled for. They look like dog ears. I like it when there's a little bit more flair and a little bit more curvaceousness to them. These are just slapped on. It looked like they'd just been welded on. And Clive, Gerald Genter Jr. retired from Rolex. I think I heard that from you on the Archie stream. It's amazing. Imagine having a father working in the industry and just being able to snap your fingers and say, "Hey, let me join." It's interesting. The design industry, the whole industry behind watches in general. When you think about what happens behind the scenes, we actually have no idea what it's like in that corporate environment. I'm sure there might be some people here who could enlighten us, but I personally, from a creative side, I don't have a lick of understanding or know what it must be like behind the scenes in the creative departments, what they do. So if anyone's in that industry, I'd be interested in knowing what it's like. Anyway, let's see what else. What do I think about the rubber strap? Phil Smith, what do I think about the rubber strap on the white gold Daytona? You know what? One Daytona that's really pulled me is the 116519. Hell, as a alternative, it's, the thing that I don't like is the fact that the straps can't exactly be interchanged with bracelets. I think that really limits the wearing opportunity. If you're someone who really likes rubber straps, then cool. But for people who want a bit of variety, these two paired together, this is such a killer looking watch. Imagine just taking the bezel off this piece and slapping it on here. You have a stunning looking Daytona. I think what they did with the strap, the nice thing is that the strap sort of goes in tandem with the subdials. It makes it a great pairing, where this looks a little bit cluttered. You've got silver on silver on silver. So yeah, it's cool. I'm going to get back to the comments. Chopard Alpine Eagle. I actually covered that earlier, Jason Brady. I think it's hilarious. I was very critical of the watch until I learned a little bit more about it, and that it is actually a homage to one of the earlier pieces that they brought out many, many years ago. But again, it's the process of gentrifying. It's the process of making all these watches have the same aesthetics. Why put screws on the bezel? I like the conflict of having the Roman numerals on the watch, but geez, it looks like a Vacheron Overseas Mark I. I mean, again, I'll pull it back up again for all of you. Gen 1 Overseas. It has that same draw, those center links. That's exactly what I think about when I think of this watch, is the center link. And it just feels like, I don't know what these brands are trying to do. They're trying to grab the audience who are interested in these Genta-inspired pieces. Anyway, to quote the 10th Doctor, I don't want to go. Oh, Clive, no, but you're required on the other stream. So, I mean, geez, please, by all means, you are a co-host. So, I mean, you enjoy it. You love the stream. You wouldn't be going there if it wasn't the case. Anyway, I'm just enjoying this, sitting back and not writing for a change. Oysterflex Rolexes are cool. They are cool. But again, I think the big issue they have is unless they have that opportunity for interchangeability, talk about a mouthful of words, I think you're losing a little bit. But again, it's one of those watches that you can just wear and enjoy. I like the idea that it's white gold, so it's very stealth wealth in that way. It looks just like a sports piece, but yeah, it's cool. I love the contrast. I mean, that's the reason why you get the watch. Get those subdials. Full subdials makes the watch so much more legible and easy to use. Compare it to that, for example. I mean, geez, there's like no comparison, right? Let's see. I'm probably way behind with the chat, so I'm just going to continue strolling. How long has this been going on for? It's now 1:45 in the morning in the UK. Hans, glass or two of wine. Hans, send me an email. It should be in the about section of my channel, and I'd love to meet up. I'd love to come into London and just chat watches with people. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to get my presence out there one of these days. Still just trying to build the page and just enjoying. What do I think of vintage Movado? Nice question, Clive. Vintage Movado. Let's have a look at a broad range of pieces and see. What's interesting is that they have such a diverse range, such a catalog, and these watches are very much like the everyday watches for the everyday man, right? If I'm butchering that history, apologies. You know, it's fascinating seeing just how these watches changed over time. You look at that and you think to yourself, wow, that's a 5170 Patek chronograph, right? This inspiration that these pieces had back then, really something. There's such a diverse range of pieces. I haven't studied them much, so I'm not someone to give you a good detail about the movements and everything else, but the aesthetics of these vintage-inspired pieces, just the vintage pieces in general, look killer. I think, is this another Adrian video? I think it is. I recognize, no, maybe, I don't know. Bark and Jack, I don't know. There's some stunning pieces out there. I mean, there's so many watches, and it's difficult to actually hone in and think about watches that will be interesting for the community, but also things that are diverse. And yeah, let's have a look. Just talking about Tom Olsen, I was chatting to you, Watchbox Live. I love one other thing I really love is Tim's Watchbox videos. His live shows when he just has all the watches on the table. That for me, look at that piece. That, for example, the killer. What's another watch that I just want to pull up? I don't know. Maybe we can open up. Should we open up Watches of Knightsbridge and look at some vintage pieces that are going on auction? That might be quite cool. Let's just see. Just catching up with the comments at the moment. I think what I'm going to do just for the next little while is pull up this catalog. There are so many watches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to page 80, because that's when it starts getting really cool. And I'm just going to page through these, and I want to try and focus on the chats. Clive, speaking of military style, next week I'm bringing out a huge video all about mil-spec inspired pieces. It's going to be such a blast. 100 years worth, going all the way through from the First World War all the way into the modern day, and how watches have evolved over time. And speaking of which, here they are on the screen. Here are the examples of the pieces I'll be discussing. Got some Dirty Dozen. These were such inspirational watches. I mean, they established the field watch in many ways. Anyway, I'm going to try and just browse through these while checking this. Let's see. So, got some CWCs. Amazing history. This video that I'm going to be doing is going to have, just a lot of coverage. I spent about 3 days writing the article. Still haven't recorded it yet, but I hope to do that tomorrow. I should be doing it tonight, but this is supposed to be my off time. And what I'm doing is I'm browsing through watches. It's a sickness. Check this out. This is a Lange and Zohn stamped Luftwaffe pilot piece. They have some of the rarest, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool. Let's see. Seiko SKX 007 should be bought in its original version unmodded. Yeah, I think so too. I think the modified versions get a little bit out of hand. Nothing wrong with a sapphire crystal and a ceramic bezel, but you shouldn't really deface the aesthetics of the watch, overall. So you need a drink. Yeah, geez, I've finished my coffee. I don't know how I'm still going. I've got a bit of whiskey left, but that's me just browsing through these. Oh, some gorgeous watches. I tell you, Watches of Knightsbridge are having another auction in November, so I'll be sure to cover their catalog. This is a March catalog, so it's a little bit outdated. Let's see. Now we have some Rancheros. I mean, Clive, you need to get one of these watches. If Clive is still on, you need to get an Omega Ranchero. It just speaks to you, right? It's your watch. Let's see. What website is it? And gee, it's Knightsbridge, Watches of Knightsbridge. They go onto their website and you can download PDFs. This is a 200-page PDF of their catalogs. I think they do auctions every month or every few months. And the photos, it's just so cool. I might carry on with this in a future stream, just because there's just so much variety in one document. We go from your vintage, pieces all of a sudden jumping to Speedmasters. And yeah, Hans, the Railmaster was on the left. and the Ranchero is on the right. I think the only difference is that the Ranchero has a sub dial. I might be wrong there, but that's what I know about it. These were such killer watches. Early mid 50s. They're too cool. Anyway, let's see. Whiskey and coffee. Time for an Irish coffee. Yeah, so I finished my coffee early, and the whiskey is still here. I should have blended the two together, but who knows? Whatever. Let's see. Yeah, guys, just kick back and enjoy. I'm really enjoying this, just browsing through. I don't know what time it is where you are in the world, but since it's 1 o'clock here, I might as well just keep going and enjoy. Railmaster, Grailmaster, Gasmaster. Some really cool watches. My grandpa drove a Ranchero. Do I like enamel dials? Tin Mosso. Yes, I do. I really love gloss dials. Oh, sorry, enamel dials, as in enamel painted dials. I'm a fan of gloss dials. The texture, we'll be able to see some of them here, I'm sure. Just to cover these quickly, look how smashed up these Speedmasters are. This thing has been through absolute war. I mean, some watches that have gone to space haven't seen this kind of abuse in their lives. So, geez, unreal, right? Anyway, just going to keep browsing through while looking at the comments. Let's see. Check the Smith-Sprend Eberhard. I actually want to, Andreas, I want to keep to this for the time being. I think I've done too much browsing around on the page. I've spent the last hour and a half running through pages when I'm supposed to be going through these lots. So I'll stick to these for a while, but geez, there's so many. I'm going to come back and look at all these comments and put some ideas in the future, take some ideas out of what I'd like to cover in the future. Does it seem like to you, as it does to many of us, that classic vintage luxury timepieces are becoming more desired and collectible? Yeah, there's definitely a growing appreciation for them. With channels like Theo and Harris, and specialize in it. So many channels. Craft and Tailored. Again, if you're new here, go onto Craft and Tailored and look at their stuff. They have a YouTube page because of this attention that's being pulled to them. And I think it's also it's the charm that they share. Of course, they have these vintage aspects that really appeal to people. But at the same time, it's the size and the scaling that was different back then. The tritium patina, all of these little things add a difference. Oh, geez, Hodinkee. What else am I talking about? Hodinkee is another just huge contributor. They were the ones that brought vintage watches to the map, really, onto the map. 73 MAF, great photography. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's why I love it. And the fact that every video, every picture has a full description, where it was dated, ghost bezel. Some of these have histories behind them that they cover. Really cool. I just love the fact for a live stream, you can just cover these pieces. Some 70s Omegas. Let's have a look. Anyway, I'm going to keep my eye on the comments because that's a nice piece. Check it out. This is from 1940. Stunner. Love these 40s inspired pieces. Let's see. Whiskey, oh yes, working men, the US drink. Yeah, 100% proof. Yeah, it's a pleasure, Eric. Thank you for joining us. And talking about the rugby, it was a good game the other day versus Italy. It was actually my favorite game. I've been trying to watch every game, and the South Africa-Italy game was quite tense, and I enjoyed it a lot. Here's a vintage little Calatrava. These vintage Calatravas are something to look at, right? Stunning pieces. Anyway, let's just carry on here. Geez, I'm missing so many comments. Let's see. Keep going, for God's sake, please. Now, Clive, again, I say, get a Ranchero Omega because it fits you down to the ground. Truth Fears Guilty. Thank you for joining if you're off. Wabi Sabi. Yeah, Reed, that's exactly it. Wabi Sabi is something that's really pulling people into this. So let's carry on. AP is monumental. Not as comfortable to wear as a Nautilus. Black strap. Let's see. My favorite date just configuration. I'm a very simple guy. I like the standard silver dial. This is from Cheetown. And the master date. Let's see. Trying to keep up with these chats. JLC master date. I think it's cool. But again, it's all down to proportions again. I'm someone who prefers a smaller scale dress watch. I think, what is this? Probably This is 35 mils, this little Patek. Let's see what else there is. There's so many. We're going to be jumping to much cooler pieces in a second now. How cool. You know, I really dig 5127. I love the crown guards on these pieces. I think they look awesome. It really completes the watch. I know I'm probably in a small camp there, but crown guards on those Pateks are really cool. And now we've jumped to Daytonas and stuff, so this should be cool. You'll see some nice vintage pieces. Let's see. I have to try and keep up with these dinky hose troll comments. You know, one Instagram page that you have to follow, Tin Mosso, is called Haute. And they make the funniest mashups of things, and it's hilarious. It just really, if you're on Instagram, look up Haute, and you'll have a laugh to no end. Huge fan. Thank you, Proots. Really, thank you very much. This is a time when I can talk unscripted and just sit back and, you know, relax. Technically, Eric Bell, cheers. Thank you so much for watching. Jeez, it must be late in South Africa if you're there. It's like what? It's 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Unreal. What's my favorite crown design? Crown design, as in watch crown design. I should pay more attention to them, but I don't. Pretty bad. But you know, it's another thing is that with automatic watches, you don't need to wear crowns on a daily basis. Sorry, you don't need to use crowns on a daily basis. So it's kind of that blend between how functional is it compared to how out of the way it is visually. I think that's important with any watch. Wow, these are some killer pieces. Look at these Daytonas. These are all Zenith Daytonas, and they're going for some ridiculous prices. I don't know if you can see them on the screen, but between 18 and 22,000 pounds for the solid gold piece. And this two-tone is going for between 18 and 24,000. This one on the left is a 1991 reference with an inverted 6, and this on the left, and on the right we have a what does it say? 1989 two-tone. Very cool. The solid gold looks killer. I think it looks awesome. Let's see. Better late than never. Jean-Claude Beaver, nice to have you here. Love your name. Think you're awesome. Never heard of Haute. It is so good, and it's spelt Haute with 2 E's. It's so good, guys. Really, go and check it out. You'll have such a laugh. And Blue Shirt Buddha, thank you so much for joining. I love this. This chat, this dialogue is great. We've probably gone through like 100 watches over the course of this. And just to top it off, we will, you know, just page through some of these vintage pieces. I mean, what's not to love about the photography and the stunning pieces? Love them. I think these root beers are really they're real tour de force, real character. Let's see. Seriously thinking of purchasing a Santos. Yeah. Proots, it's one of those watches that has such a history behind it. It can't be passed up on. And there's so many varieties of pieces. There's the Gelby. I think the Santos Gelby is really cool for smaller wrist presence. You know, it's all down to you. There's so many variations. Tank American is another piece that is really cool. I'm really drawn to the look of past vintage Longines pieces. How about you? Yeah, Gilbert, I actually mentioned, I spoke about a Longines chronograph earlier. I think it was the Big Eye chronograph. Awesome looking watch, really cool looking piece. So absolutely have a look. I think they offer such a nice design aspect behind them, which is great. Let's see. Late Saturday afternoon with IDGuy Live. Doesn't get better than that. Thank you, Cheeton. That's really nice of you. Renault tank, truthful. Yeah, that's it. That was the inspiration. First World War. The very strange inspiration behind it. If you look at the Santos video again, I discuss it in detail. But it's a crazy inspiration behind that watch and what it's done since. It's very inspired watch. Why is life so cruel, brutal? Reverse head tank, Santos, Christ. Yeah, it is difficult. There's so much variety out there, and it's so hard to make a choice. With channels like mine, we're just constantly grinding you with all kinds of ridiculous watches to look at, and I make the deciding aspect much harder, I think. I make life difficult for people because I just bring such a varied set of videos in. These are interesting. These are black coated. I think they're done by Bamford, if I'm not mistaken. That's pretty cool. I like the Explorer set. Hope you're seeing these pictures okay. They're not too far zoomed out. Anyway, Thomas Burnett. This is way better than a Piccaroonie actual watch. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. I'm enjoying it. Really enjoying it. I'm not someone who would ask for super chats, but hell, that would be cool. But, you know, I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to ask. Some of you guys have donated already tonight, and geez, Thomas, thank you. Some of you guys have been so generous. Too cool. Let's see, Jean-Claude Beaver. Sunday morning here. I have to take my kid off to swimming, but we'll try and make the next one. Thank you, Jean-Claude. Really love your stuff. I love what you've done to Zenith and how you've brought Hublot back. I think some of your design choices with the pieces are a little bit bizarre. Not a fan of the Defy, really. Not a fan of Hublot in general, but some of their older pieces were really cool. So, yeah. Let's see. Taking your daughter off to swimming practice, or a kid off to swimming practice. I thought beavers are generally pretty good at swimming, right? Anyway, I'm just browsing through these. There's a couple more pages running through these more modern pieces. Is this a 40 mil? This, if you want a killer Submariner piece, get one of these 4,000 Sea Dwellers. This, the last hurrah of the 40 millimeter Sea Dweller. I don't think it gets any cooler than this watch. That the earlier references were cool, but this one with the modern case, even here, the lugs were tapered in. This is such a special watch. And yeah, it's too cool. Too cool. One to really keep your attention. And I know a few on this page have a Kermit, a great watch to keep. Truth fears guilty. I am going to stay on for a while, but thank you. Good night. That's the reference. Thank you, Fauzi. It's a 16600. Too cool. Bremont. I'm actually mentioning Bremont in next week's video, funnily enough. They've got some cool pieces, some nicely designed pieces, but I mean, you know, again, it's all down to preference and down to what you think, and it's very difficult to justify prices on some of these watches, but you know, you pay for what you think it's worth. Anyway, let's see. Just carrying on browsing through here, we've got another Kermit, no date sub 2008, 36 mil. These little 36 mil Explorers, absolute gems. And this is one of the last with the solid end links. I think they're too cool. And as we go through, we're going to start seeing more vintage pieces. Here's a 5513 from 1988, between £6,000 and £7,000. I hope you can read the specifics on the page. I mean, some of these examples they offer are so clean. They look great, eh? This is such a nice page because it just offers everything. It has the photography, it has the pricings of these pieces. Next to it, we have a 1016 from 1989. Awesome watch. Such a cool little watch. Phil Smith, you're off. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this and love to carry on doing these. Again, being 1 in the morning here, it's quite a change of pace for me, but it's cool. Yeah, and Clive, your little 14270 was a surprise watch of, was it 2018? It feels like it was just the other day, you know. Yeah, that's an awesome piece though. I love 36 mil Explorers. I think they're too cool. Here we have some 16800s, some transitionals, 5513, and a really cool 1680 Mark 1. Love that minute track around there. See, it's all down to how much you can fit into a watch that makes the difference. And I think when you have this minute track that is emphasized, it gives a watch a little bit more of a difference. And of course, the characteristic triangle of these pieces are what's, you know, so fascinating. What everyone loves about them is the dial styling. LLD is wearing his 1016 tonight. I'm so jealous of you, man. Really so jealous. I'm wearing my 1016 homage. That's as good as I can get. Anyway, let's see. Thank you, Truth Fears Guilt. I'll never get your name right. Let's see. Nasty Vinyl. Thank you. I like to try and bring something different to the table. You know, it's not up everyone's alley. I know not everyone enjoys it, but being able to talk about the design of watches gives me a little bit of an avenue that I can just focus in on, like these Tudor Submariners, for example. Interesting looking pieces, but I'm not so much of a fan of the triangles everywhere. I think that was kind of a cop-out. They had a much better effect with the snowflake layout. We will be looking at just now, actually. I think there's a snowflake. Here it is. Check it out. These Vietnam era Tudor snowflakes were, Tudor Submariners were killer. And then we jumped to the snowflake. I'm not a fan of the Cyclops, but I love the, another example, brilliant example of a blue dial, blue bezel. I think it looks so cool. I know a lot of people hate this watch because it's it's got a very strange layout. The snowflake hand is a very contentious hand on a watch. But when it comes to legibility and readability, which watch can you read better? Personally, I can see and focus on this watch easier because all of these angled points, you've got jagged edges everywhere, squares, triangles, squared off hand, where here we have circles. And I think circles with rectangles makes it a little bit more difficult to read at a glance, where I think this is a lot more in touch. You can see it a lot easier. But that's all down to preference, I would say. Love the color, though. I think this, and just like the SMP 300, I think a blue dial and blue bezel on this piece works wonders. Oh, and here we go. This is the money shot. 1978. This is probably a Marine Nationale piece. Yeah, Marine Nationale. That is just too cool. Love the strap, love the canvas. And look at the prices. Yeah, please comment through the prices as well as we're going through. I'm not focusing on that so much. But it's amazing how the prices are going up for these watches nowadays. It's insane. Just looking at the chat here. My girlfriend yelled and threw a lamp at me. Proots, that's not very nice. Well, depending on where you are in the world, it makes sense if it's late at night. This watch, something else. But I mean, if I'm not so much of a fan of a watch that's been absolutely decimated. I feel like this watch has been quite overused. That bezel, you know, there's a difference between nice ghosting and shoddy ghosting, and this looks like it's been dragged through the mud, quite literally. But I mean, it's cool. People like the wabi-sabi, again, as mentioned earlier. Let me try and catching up with the chats. What's going on down below? Tudor, Grand Seiko, Battle of the Snowflakes. Yeah, completely different leagues. I mean, Grand Seiko would win the battle when it comes to movement function. Absolutely. I mean, an ETA compared to spring drives and all the rest, there's no comparison. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, everyone's just having a wild go in the comments. I'm just going to sit back and browse through these watches because this is the first time I'm looking at them. I haven't actually looked through the page myself, so this is the first time for me. 1968 5513. I love rivet bracelets. I've said it so many times before. It's because this end link integrates so nicely with the bracelet, and it's such a charming finish. Really completes the watch, gives it a nice squared off nature that I think that the modern pieces have lost over time. I really wish companies would be able to create very similar end links like this with their pieces, like Tudor, for example. Tudor should be able to recreate that effect. Oh, here we go. Here's some gems. I'm guessing these are very early 5513s, both of them. They look awesome. Let's see. How much is it? Yeah, sorry. I'm keeping the prices off the screen by mistake. I hope you can see it. If you put your resolution up to a 720p, you should be able to read the pricings of these pieces. But just these two that we're looking at now, between 18,000 and 22,000. Jeez. And this 64 5513 is between 25 and 35,000. I mean, that is just unbelievable. It's just nuts. But they are stunning looking watches, right? Love the end links. I think these aren't eagle beaks, so they're a little bit more modern. But two lines. They don't have chapter rings, so they're not very, very early, but they are recent. You know, one of the earliest of the 5513s. There's just something about the designs of these watches back then that they did so well. There's the lug design, the case designs have changed. And it just looks so good. Just looks so good. You can't go wrong with one of these. I love the styling. Okay, and here is a 6536, and it's going between 15 and 25,000. I guess it doesn't have a bracelet or anything else, but again, go onto Craft and Tailored on YouTube and look up the Big Crown Submariner that they did the other day. It's one of the best I've seen on film, and stunning. Really, I have to implore you to watch it because the detail behind the watch is so good. It's such a clean piece. And then we jump over to some Tudor pieces. I'm not really a big fan of the Burgundy. The Burgundy for me has never been a watch that's, yeah, it's not been a watch that's really pulled me much. I much prefer a simpler, the blue bezel is quite nice. But these Black Bays, I prefer a 58 over these pieces personally. Let's see, talking through these. Always think of Roger Moore when I think of 5513. You know, Justin Bailey, that's how I started with watches. That's what got me into it. Growing up in Africa, I used to watch reruns of James Bond. I think June, July holidays, they used to have reruns of James Bond. And the films that really caught me were Goldfinger, Thunderball, and Live and Let Die. Those three films, the Submariner just pulled me. I didn't even know what a Rolex was back then. I mean, I was a youngster, you know. And I just knew that I wanted that design. I didn't know what it was, but amazing how what happens in life. I love the 5513. It's such a killer. But Roger Moore, yeah, sadly he did pass away quite recently, a couple of years ago. And I mean, Sean Connery is still kicking it. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but legend. Sean Connery to me is the Bond. He is James Bond. I'll watch a Sean Connery film 5 times compared to a Roger Moore or even Pierce Brosnan. None of the films match to Sean Connery for me. Let's see, catching up with the comments. Where are you from in South Africa? Andreas, I'm from Cape Town, originally from Cape Town. You can probably tell by my accent. It's very Cape Townian. Breitling Top Time, yeah, was in Thunderball, Watch Aficionado. Very cool. They made it a Geiger counter in the film. Thunderball is my go-to film. Absolutely love it. The use of watches, the setting, just everything about that film does it for me. Hell, how cool is that for a date just? Photography does a lot to a watch. Photography does a lot to a watch. You can make it look so clean, and this kind of example of a date just, that to me is an excellent example of a date just. Small bezel, you know, it doesn't pull attention to itself. Jubilee bracelets, too awesome. Let's see what else is going on. Let's see. Sean Connery wears a Panerai Pam 190, has a JLC movement. I did not know that. That is awesome. I've always wanted to know what watches he wears. Thank you for that information. My girlfriend stole my Tudor steel and gold. Thank you, Proots. And Reed, thank you very much for that comment. I'm just sitting here, just browsing through. We're all just perving through a magazine, basically. I think that's what all enthusiasts like. Oh, geez, I hope this is not coming to an end. There's about 30 watches left. And now we're jumping to the more vintage dress pieces we can look at. You know, Andreas lived in Jersey for 14 months. Wow, I'd be interested in knowing like when did you live in Johannesburg? What year exactly? And 5513 or Batman? I would take the Batgirl. Batgirl for me is the watch. I am someone who loves Jubilees on GMTs. That combination works so well. On the dive watches, I'm just going to flick back to these because these are the watches that are really like eye-catching. On GMTs, I think they deserve Jubilees. On sports pieces like Submariners, they deserve Oysters. So yeah, I would 5513 or Batman. Well, you know, it's difficult. I would be wanting to wear it every day, so I'd be taking a Batgirl and wear the hell out of the thing for the rest of its life. Writes about Sean Connery, Truth Feels Guilty. Yeah, I mean, he's a legend. I love, the thing is, he brought the character of James Bond to screen. You know, he was the man that who was the author? Jeez, that's so bad that I can't even remember the author's name. Caught a blank. He picked Sean Connery for the role back in the day, and it's too cool. Aquaterra is in the new Bond movie. Oh, that'd be interesting. Justin Bailey, thanks for that. So I'm guessing I'd be interested in knowing what Seamaster he's going to be wearing, because the new Bond Seamaster, I think it looks hideous. Let's just pull that up quickly. Bond Seamaster anniversary. Let's see. Let's pull it up quick. I really don't like the latest, this gadget. No, enough is enough. Too much is too much. This watch, it has too much done to it, I think. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on the piece. The gilt, I like the gilt hands and the gilt indices, well, the gilt layout. I like the crest on the 12, but you have a gun barrel, you have a 7 for 007, yeah, we get it. There's probably something going on. There's a 50 at the it's just too much, guys. Come on. I would love to just chat to Omega, because they do have some stunning watches, but some of these pieces are just, and the case back of this as well. If I pull up a movement shot of this watch somewhere, it's even worse, because it's the Bond crest on the back of it, I think. Let's see if I can find something. Anyway, I'll just leave this here for the moment. If this is the watch that he wears in the film, I'll be quite disappointed. I think he should be wearing a blue on blue Seamaster would be a much better choice, just playing in tandem with the Pierce Brosnan era, Do you like the 3448 or the 3449 Patek? Oh, I wish I was a better savant when it came to Patek, but I'll look at that quickly. 3449 Patek. Huh. We're talking some very 70s inspired pieces here, and the 3448, 3348, geez. There's so many bizarre references. Are we talking about the ellipse? I like the ellipse. I think the ellipse has quite a character to it. I think that's the watch we're referring to. You might need to be a bit more specific, Tim. And Craig Ship's in the house. Thank you so much for joining, Craig. Datejust, it's a killer watch. There's some awesome references out there. I love the vintage pieces. Let's see. Talking about the 5513 being molested, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to find a clear example. It'd be awesome to get a 5513 from a one owner, Vintage Montine of Switzerland timepieces are more popular in Europe than the US. Your thoughts? Jeez. A lot of these things I have no knowledge about, so I can't be the judge, the person who can give you much insight on it. What I wanted to do with this page was make it a learning experience for me as well. I'm trying my best to study up on all of this too. Anyway, some people are typing 1 in the comments. I don't know. Let's see the rest of. Let's see. God, I've missed so many comments talking about Omega barrel dial. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and catch up here. Barrel dial, it just doesn't do it for me. It really just kills it to me. I mean, it doesn't look legible in the slightest. It's a pity. There's enough. Enough is enough. Too much is. Where is a good example of the case back on this watch? I haven't found anything clear. There's also a placard on the side of the case talking about its history. I just should type in 2019, right? Here we go. Something. There we go. There's the case back. I mean, that's just so. Why would you do that? Really? Why would you do that? Anyway, it should be interesting to hear your comments on that. I think it's just so, it takes a lot to mess up a watch, and this kind of thing makes it just frustrating. Anyway, talking about watch sizes, yeah, the Bond Seamaster. It's a pity. Who makes watches out of platinum? There's so many, actually. Well, geez, we look at the Haute Horology brands. I'm sure F. P. Journe makes them. We look at Patek. We look at Vacheron. There's lots of varieties out there. I don't know how they put platinum into watches. It can't be pure platinum, because I've heard that there's only like a swimming pool's worth of platinum in the world. Might be wrong about that. But yeah, anyway, getting back to these. Let's see. A dial made of plastic. No, actually, it's ceramic. It's a very nice idea. The approach is brilliant. I mean, they have all the technology behind them. This watch is the biggest I saw of the Omega line for me, for my taste. but the dial's made of ceramic. It's nice. The proportions I'm a bit of a stickler for. I don't like the fact that they've scaled it up so big. They're already on Joma Shop. It's pretty cool. It's a cool looking watch. I would like to see this on the wrist of Daniel Craig in the new film, because it's more in line with Pierce Brosnan, Bond, the guy who brought them in back in the day. The White Dial Seamaster, yeah. I called it the Great White. I actually made a video about it a while ago. What did I call it? I'm sure if I just type in Great White, I'm sure you'll see something if I search in the search bar. Yeah, there we go. This guy. Gorgeous looking watch. But again, it's the proportions that are the problem. I don't know. The 42 mil size might be a bit too excessive. It does look cool though. I mean, it's a panda, just not a panda, Let's see what else. I have to give credit to Amiga for the movement and everything else. Let's see. Rado is another watch I need to cover. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many watches to cover. I mean, I could sit here for hours and hours just running through all these pieces. But I don't know. Let me return back to the slide, looking at the pieces. We've got an old Chronograph. I think Chronographs, there was mention about Chronographs being very undervalued. I think that is definitely the case. This is a gorgeous day date. Really stunning. I really like day dates that are on leather straps, because it just tones down the gold a lot more. I mean, gold is cool. It's nice as a full watch, but I think on a leather strap, it just adds a little touch of subtlety. You walk into a room with a day date on leather strap, and you're just killing it, I think it looks awesome. Got an oyster quartz at the bottom here, 1530. This is one of Clive's watches, if I'm not mistaken. Is this considered a rare bird? Clive, please tell us. Let's see. Proots. I was kicked out of an authorized dealer for being black when I tried to buy a Chelsea. I don't know if that's the truth. I highly doubt it. But yeah, I come from Africa, so we can't do racist jokes here. I've heard them all, and I can't tolerate that. Let's see. Most poor countries are ruled by Seiko and Citizen. So, geez, there's so many comments. I hope I'm not missing anything. There's so many pieces here. Let's just cover this. What else do we have? More quartz, another quartz piece. These quartz watches are quite something, with the end links, with the bracelets. I kind of like the 70s draw they have, the 70s inspired elements. Awesome looking date just with the Romans. I think Romans work so well on date just adds that little bit of a dress nature. And really, the date just nowadays is such a cool piece for being that sports/dress piece. I think a lot more attention is going to be drawn to them in the future, because, as we know, steel sports Rolex are very, very demanded for, and no one's getting them. I love this. This is such a nice photo. Great looking piece. Lots of old school date just. We've got some pieces from the 60s. Let's see what else we have. These older pieces, really something to look at. These older Rolexes and Oyster Perpetuals. Nice history behind them too. Let's see. Captain Cook. Fruit's very good. The Rado Captain Cook is a sick looking watch. Let's open it up quick. Oops. Shouldn't have opened Safari. Here we go. Rado Captain Cook. Got an awesome history behind it, and I like what they've done with the modern piece. I'm not such a fan of the brown dial, but I do like the aesthetic. They still kept that 50s aesthetic to the piece. Looks quite cool. Does look very simple though. I really don't like ceramic bezels that aren't more defined, because you can lose a lot of detail in the light. Hence, here's an example. In a reflective light, it's a problem. Just seeing what else is going on here. Talking about Rolex. Longines. I can't believe how long the stream has been going for. 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen. Feels like 2 hours. I'm about to conk out. But I'll stick on this for a little bit longer. Really enjoying it. Really enjoying being able to just sit back and browse. Let's see. And then we've got some World War I inspired pieces, 1916 Rolex. Amazing history behind these watches. I hope to cover these in detail in future videos as well. I mean, these watches were very much just slapdash back in the day. They pulled these pieces together with no understanding about no, stay on. Thanks, Clive. I'm giving you the incentive to stay. It's nice. No, back in the day, these pieces were just slapdash. There was no real thinking about what they were going to be, how they would work. Just scaled down pocket watches with tiny little lugs and very legible dials. Dauphine hands, once again, you see that very often. Stunning looking pieces though, really cool. And you can get them for a steal nowadays. I'm interested in knowing if attention is ever going to be drawn back to these watches, because I think they do have some character. Come on, work with me, keyboard. Flicking across, got some very old 40s inspired pieces with, you know, it's these pieces I find quite obscure. I don't know how many people are attracted to these watches, but it's not my cup of tea. I don't like these overly complicated, like Vacheron, for example, with day dates and months. Yeah, Proots, it's awesome. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. The super chats, not super chat, the chats in general are just, they're just great. I love the idea that we can just chat about whatever's going on, and you're giving me suggestions for watches to look at, and we've got some nice quality images to look at too. In something, I've just missed you. I haven't seen you on earlier, so if you just arrived now, sorry about that. Sorry if you missed the stream. 2 hours worth of stuff going through. There's been so much happening today. No other channels are talking about watches right now. That's mean. No, I mean, you know, I try my approach throughout this channel. The whole idea behind this channel was to try and make content that I would like to see, and I hope. Oh wow, there we go. That's pretty much the end of the stream right there. How cool is that piece? Talking about zeniths, I did a video on the El Primero just the other day, a day ago. Stunning, stunning looking piece. It's going for between it went for between 6,000 and 7,000. 1969, reference A277. And I think there was a mention in the comments of the video about this piece. Yeah, it looks killer. Let's see. What Mac rig are you using? Clive, thank you for the super chat. Super shots. I am running a, what is it called? I'm bad, you know. I used to be a huge Apple fanboy. Being a designer, person who's so drawn to industrial design, I should love. But the way the iPhone has gone, it's made me ill. I'm rocking a, what is it called? It's the 5K Mac Pro from 2015, I think. That's what I run on the big screen, and this is where I do all my editing and stuff. It's great. And then I've got a 15-inch from 2011 MacBook, and on here I do a lot of like my photo editing and stuff. So I'm basically watching the stream from the laptop and running the show on the big screen. It's awesome. I mean, if you want a great computer, get one of these 5K monitors, because they really are something. Works a treat for me, that's for sure. Anyone in the design space, especially when it comes to using computer-aided design and CAD, when you need to like zoom in on mechanics and crazy parts, trust me, you want a high-res screen. Anyway, looking at the rest. When's the next one planned? Reed Cruikshank. You know, I could do this again next week. Next week, Saturday, for sure. Depending on the time. I'd be interested in knowing what time suits you guys. It's 1:30 here in the UK in the morning. So, I don't mind it at all. Tomorrow, I'm going to be bringing together another video for the following week. And this is just a time when I can sit back and just scroll around. It's just thinking about topics and ideas to talk about. Maybe in future we can just run off Google and just looking at all kinds of watches in general. Let's see, what's my favorite under 40 millimeter? Oh, I just missed it. Oops. Geez, I've missed a lot of chats. What's my favorite under 40 millimeter diver? Tom Austin. It's very hard to find one. 39 mil pieces are generally the case. You know what I really like actually, that I'm dying to actually try on one of these days? Very good question. I've just thought of it now. Come on. Tudor did some really cool things. Not opening up Chrome, damn it. Safari. I think it's a 36 mil Submariner. I think, yeah, here it is. This watch was brought out in the 90s or so, and I'm dying to get my hands on one of these just to try it, because I think a diver in 36 mil is such a cool idea. Tudor did some really crazy, like wacky stuff in the 90s, and I really want to try one of these on. So answering your question, 36 mil Tudor Submariner, I think would be a killer looking watch. I mean, it looks great. On a smaller wrist, it looks fantastic. And throw it on a NATO. These watches have got a lot of popularity behind them nowadays. How cool does that look? I mean, just, you know, speaking about sizes, 36 mil is tiny, but looks awesome. And something, sounds like you've missed the stream. Sorry about that. Seeing what else is going on in the comments. Let me just try and bring a cool picture up. Oh yeah, that's cool. This is a 40 mil piece. Let's see. Nice Zenith. Yeah, sorry about that. I've missed some of these comments. Talking about Movado. I'm extremely disappointed with new MacBook Pros, and you know, Cheetown, it's actually unreal how bad MacBooks have gotten. This generation that I have now, I think it's an early 2012 model. It's one of the last models that you could modify, and I've done everything with it. I've changed the batteries, I've changed the RAM. I think I've even changed the graphics card. But you can't do that nowadays because the screws, you basically have to create your own tool to open up the cases on the watches. And a lot of the hardware is no longer hardware, it's all graphical, and it's such a problem. I'm so happy that this laptop is still working, that I'm using at the moment. I really hope it lasts, because I'm really not looking forward to upgrading it one day, honestly. I'll probably get like a MacBook Air or something in the future. Anyway, I'm going to keep this open because we can just browse through more watches. Give me some suggestions. Whatever you'd like. I'm sure if you super chat, it'll probably jump up to the top. I'm missing a lot of comments here, so let's see. Mido, so many brands. Apple, yeah, it is. Apple is a problem. I mean, just in general, the business practices, what they're offering, it's a very easy it's a very easy computer to use. I guess that works. Go brew yourself some coffee. We'll wait. Clive, you know, actually, I've got some whiskey. I don't need coffee. I'm pretty much running on empty at the moment. I follow a ketogenic diet, so I'm pretty much on the ball 24/7. It's very hard to turn me off, actually. Put me to sleep. Helps. If anyone wants a good diet to follow, go keto. I've been doing it for close to probably about 8 years now. Best thing ever done. I've got lots of family members with very interesting conditions that have followed the keto diet and have basically come out scot-free. Amazing story. We can talk about diets in another video. I think that would be cool. Let's see. The rest of the, she's talking about Microsoft and what's going on. Rado, I live in Pittsburgh. And something, yeah, I'll see if I can do it on Saturday again. It all depends, you know, it's up to my mood as well. Like with anything, if I'm not really feeling up to it, I won't do it. I'd rather be doing it when I'm keen on it, like today. I felt like just bringing out a video and just chatting to everyone. 2:28 a.m. here. Yeah, same. It's 1:30 here in the UK. 1:30 in Manchester. Chilling with a Bacardi. Wow, well done, Justin. Very good. Yeah, I'm just chilling with a scotch. Nothing special. Malaysia time, 8:30 a.m. I really hope you haven't stayed up all the way through, Fauzi. 8:30 p.m. So you guys are lucky. Let's see. Regicide. I'm just going to have to try. Gilbert Rose. Maybe speaking negatively about unforeseen life. Yeah, okay. Well, I'd like to make a public apology to Archie Luxury if that's the case, because that wasn't my intention at all. I just wanted to do this tonight because I needed a break from writing. That's all I do. And, you know, it's all down to free will at the end of the day. Everyone's free to do what they want. If they want to stay on the page, it's up to you, really. But in the future, I might do a live stream on Friday or something. You know, I'm just testing out the waters. Check out these pieces. What a stunning little Tudor. Some great watches out there. Jeez. Let's see what else is going on. Plan on covering the Tudor Hydronaut. I know that Austin Daniels is a big fan, Cheetown, California. It's a watch that really doesn't speak to me in the slightest. I mean, I would be picking up one of these 36mm Tudors any day over the Hydronaut. I don't know why, probably just design speaking. Hydronaut 2, that's the one I think is the, they really didn't know what they were doing back in the day. There were some real like disaster watches. I mean, I think this is the watch that Austin Daniels wears often. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. The bezel, it's too strange for my liking. I do like the case though. The case design's nice, and the dial layout is clean. But the indices, so the bezel itself looks rather strange. Let's see. I can't believe, how long has this been going on for? It's now, we're now approaching 2.5 hours on the stream. So I think we're going to, Brutes, nice comment there. Let's see. So many comments going on at the bottom. Let's see. So, yeah, I'm just sitting here enjoying this, this moment, catching up with all of you guys. But I think I'll give it 5 more minutes and I'll cut the stream because it is getting really late, and I'll be up early tomorrow to do the next write-up. I spend way too much time on this channel. Actually, it's sick. Is that Monsignor Neo? Hi, thank you for joining. You missed a lot. It's a 2-hour stream. I'm about to close up actually. We've just finished the catalog, gone through a lot of watches this evening. I'm finished. Let's see, just pulling up some more pieces again. Great little Seamaster. But I think I will call it a night very soon. Jean-Claude Beaver, geez, I've been at it so long that you've actually taken your day and been able to come back. Wow. Yeah, but guys, I love doing this. It's nice to have this chat going and just chat about watches, no incentive. I'm not one with hidden agendas. I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm just here to bring out cool watches for us to browse through. And I thought it'd be a nice time to just engage with all of you guys. I know in America it's cool. Anyway, Tom Austin, please more. I just got Clive. Thank you for the super chat. Get a cheese grater Mac Pro and upgrade it. Yeah, that thing really put me off. The design of that thing, and I know that Jonathan Ive is now leaving Apple, and that is the clear example why. You look at the design of that thing, and it's abysmal. And the thing is, the design community, all the purists, just back up everything Apple does like it's just a gift from God. But really, it is, some of the design choices they made in the past is just, it's a killer. Reed Cruikshank, thank you so much. Guys, really, I have to thank you all personally. I love doing this. I love making videos about these subjects. And that's why I wanted to do it tonight, was to just reach out to all of you and thank you all for joining in, and thank you all for watching the stuff I bring out. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. Let's just see. I'm trying to keep up. BS, thank you very much. And something. High-tech watch in the Submariner for a fraction of the price. Pelagos, yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to call it a night because it has gone on for a long time. Got 70 watching now. So what I'm going to do is just, because if I just stay on this, it's going to take more time out of the day. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen here. And yeah, guys, I really have to go. I mean, this is just getting nuts. Sorry, Clive. Sorry, Neo. Thank you, Tin Mosso. I do want to do more of these in the future. I really do. And I hope you've all enjoyed it tonight. It's been a nice time. If you'd like to catch up, I'm going to put timestamps in the comments of this video, and you can catch up with all the stuff going on. I think we've covered practically every watch, every price point over this 2-hour period. It's like a full-on lecture we do every night, which is cool. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining. And I'm probably going to be hitting the hay now. Probably go have a shower, go to bed. But yeah, thank you very much for joining in. And Clive, I'm sorry, I can't. 20 more minutes. Are you out of your tree? That leads us to 2 o'clock in the morning here. And it's a Sunday. I have to get up to. No, I can't. I can't tonight, but I will carry on with these next weekend. If you enjoyed it, I wonder if you'd like to reach out to me. My email address is in the About section of my page. send me an email about anything. We can catch up, we can chat. If you'd like to talk about your collection or anything else, that would be cool. But that's it. I mean, what I love is the fact that we can we can all chat about just watches. No like hidden agendas and everything else. It's just a dialogue between all of us. Yeah, so that's about it. Jimmy, I'm crashing. I lost my voice about half an hour ago. I'm just very good at hiding it because that's what I pretty much do on this page, hiding my voice. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Clive, go and enjoy the Archie stream, and I might come and join you guys there. I need to go have a shower, though. It's been a long, long day. Anyway, thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you in the next one. Catch up on the stream because a lot has been covered tonight, so I will be sure to publish this video later, and yeah, enjoy yourselves and have a great Sunday, everyone. Cheers for now. And end broadcast.